Basically,
Ideal
it's just the section where we yap about smartphones. Mm,
As I'm already,
hardware,
I'm like
software, and
in.
then we get to a tangent on ideal smartphone. Like if you had all the resources to build your ideal phone, regardless of like uh, bomb restrictions or
Oh,
uh,
what? Bomb restrictions?
yeah, bill of
Well,
materials.
like, no,
Yeah.
no, okay, no. I'm thinking of Samsung like
Oh
explosion, like it can
no,
explode.
no bomb like bomb restrictions because
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes people have companies always have budgets, especially for R&D within the bomb. So it's
Yeah.
like hello everyone, welcome to Two Sides of the Same Coin. It's been a bit since our last episode,
Mhm.
but we are back essentially. I'm Joseph, one of your hosts, and to my left, or basically to the other side of the
On
screen,
the other
is
side,
yeah,
Louise, the co-host here.
and
Yeah.
this episode we're focusing on specifically smartphones. Then we will segue to quantum computing and maybe even a little quantum theory if provided, but mainly quantum computing. Then we're going to touch on, for the last thing, the last topic will be a very interesting topic. It's been in our minds for a while. And I think it's, even for anybody, it's really interesting to think about at the very least. With regarding the human eyes, how we perceive frame rates, and I'm not just limiting it to what we see on a display or a monitor. Like what we actually as humans can capture. Like, does it change? Is it consistently set at no higher or no less than X amount of frames per
Mhm.
second, or does it change based on your actions or dynamic surroundings? So many factors, so many thoughts. But before we get into that, really quick, Luis, you wanna share anything? Was there anything interesting about your week, your day, or any interesting news you've heard this past week or this month of February so far?
Um. Well, I've been eyeing on the actual new phones because unfortunately the 15, it's just not cutting it anymore. So the nothing line, kind of funny to say the nothing line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm eyeing on it. But I still want to know the actual like information on it, like more on it, not what just they laid on. What I mean, what they have so far is like amazing, and I think I'll be the next driver. Um, that and yeah, just like I guess what I had a fun little thing when repairing phones and dropping off phones. Got to see a little bit of what Amazon uses,
Hmm.
and man, they're really outdated when it comes to like their phones. I guess the workers that use it, um, I would say like at least 2020 technology, you know.
Hmm.
So I mean, it does work with what it does. It is three actual like actual cameras in the back just to scan their barcodes and everything. Um, Definitely not daily driver, I would say. Worn out. But then I got to see inside a little bit, and I mean their technology inside is awesome. I think they just don't care about the actual scanning, but more of like how to make it all efficient in the
Hmm.
warehouse. Got to barely see any people. Like really kind of creepy, I guess I would be at night. But cars come in and out, but they pretty much before they go out, they got to get screened, and it's like it gets 3D picture of the car before it
Hmm.
leaves, and then when it comes back, it gets scanned again. And if it's like if there was a scratch, they accuse you like, "Hey, this wasn't here," and then you could be like, "How do you know?" Well, there's literally a file on your car.
Hmm.
Like we just took a picture of your car before you left, and this scratch wasn't there. So I found that technology kind of interesting because I'm like, I don't know where it'd be applied. I was thinking airports right away, like, hey,
Oh.
that's where I was thinking. I'm like, TSA could use this, like not just X-ray, but get like a 3D of you, maybe
Hmm.
just blur out your face or something. Um, like have a file. I kind of weird have a file on you, but like,
Mm.
hey, on this day you had this. How are you coming, looking like this? I don't know. Because I mean, the user IDs, they have cameras on us in every airport at this point. Um, so that was just an interesting technology that I thought like not many people knew about,
Mm.
and especially I didn't know about it. But I don't know where else it can apply. Like I know we do it for VR. You know, like put cameras
Mm.
around your room and then start walking, and then they catch you in the virtual world. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously in the metaverse, this is being implemented. But like that was just something that stuck out this week, and I was like, huh. Amazon uses crappy phones, but has cool
Mm.
tech inside. Like a lot of robots. Like there was no humans in there. I guess other if they got jammed, you know, take
Mm.
it a little bit, put it back to conveyor belt. Um, but yeah, that was so freaking cool. Instead of seeing like, it's like CVS but in person,
Mm.
but a warehouse of CVS. That was kind of cool.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, you know, like you just see a bunch of tech around you. They're like, what
Mm.
is this? What does this do? What is this for? You know, like it was just so interesting to be surrounded by tech. I've been before to CVS, but like this time you actually see it in action instead of like maybe a little demo of it, you know? So actually being applied in the real world.
Mm.
Not saying CVS sucks, you know. That's It's still good, still informal for anybody that watches it and or just keeps up with it. It's cooler when you like are in person seeing it actually in play. So props to Amazon if they ever want to sponsor, not nothing else, a sponsor. Maybe going live to like actually see and take videos of what they have. You know, that'd be kind of cool.
Mm.
Um, or anything else. You know, any other sponsorship, just throwing out there. Not the other videos that we talked about before. That's all lies. Sorry, Amazon, but that was the robots' mistakes, not mine.
Speaking of which, I just did that earlier this week.
Oh, you did?
I can't
Oh my!
confirm nor deny. I can't confirm nor deny.
I can't confirm or
I
deny
just
that
threw
I was
out. I
thinking
threw
that.
out. I threw out a fragment sentence out there, and it's up to people to take it as true or false.
I won't deny it. I won't deny mine. Yeah, I thought about that too. I thought even what item. I got deep into the thought, but it's not yet implied. I try not to do it.
Oh my gosh.
Don't discourage people though.
You know, gotta take advantages of those free returns. That's all I'm saying.
Man,
I mean,
Amazon
it really is
I'm,
cool though how Amazon does that. Like, because if you were to return a product somewhere else, like from a different company, let's say like
oh,
a different online manufacturer or company you ordered from, obviously you're gonna have to either pay extra for a return label or some other longer workaround other than simply having, just tell Amazon that you want to return it, and they'll either give you, generally they're going to give you a free return shipping label, and then you just drop it off to your local post office or local UPS store. Depends. It depends on each
yeah.
manufacturer and seller within Amazon, but like generally the fact that Amazon covers that for you for the most part is pretty convenient, and I'd say that's a big hook for people to like subscribe to Prime as well. That's like a
Yeah.
really convenient feature. I mean,
I
not
mean,
going to have to all the hassles of returning it, and like
hey,
it
be a
saves a
Prime
lot.
member so we can have that access, you know?
Yes, yes, we love
Because I don't,
returns.
yeah, I don't think if there was enough Prime members, I think they would just be like, yeah, no, you're gonna have to pay for everything, for every form of shipping. It doesn't matter how heavy or small it
Yeah,
is,
because that's the thing
you know.
too. Because like sometimes you'll pay for a return label, and then like, oh, if you want it faster, you gotta pay for more. Like Amazon sometimes covers you with a UPS shipping label, which UPS is pretty fast. Like even if it's standard express, it's faster than your post office express. Like, oh, saving me a lot of money then on return
In the
labels.
moment they no like, okay, how about you, Joseph? I had to ask you this question. When they ask you, do you want Amazon credit or do you want it back into your card? What do you prefer? Like 90% of the time.
Refund it to my card.
Is there any time where you're like, you know what? Actually, keep it as credit.
I think maybe once or twice, but for me, it's just to fiscally speaking, like just to also have on a record that like this was refunded back to me, because sometimes it'll be like, oh, I purchased this, I have this transaction, and then I'm like, I remember returning this, but it's not showing in the billing statement that I got the refund. So sometimes it's just for archive purposes and just to
Hmm.
keep things consistent. Like I'll just more often than not, practically 9 times out of
Fair.
10, I'll say refund to the card, because
You
even
can
even
say.
if I wanted to keep it on the like just keep it as Amazon credit, I normally don't buy a lot from Amazon. Like I or rather I don't
You know.
I don't have like the urge to buy something right away. Because generally, if I get something from Amazon, it's either something's broken or I need an additional of something just because I didn't realize
Oh
I was missing.
man.
Like there's one more that I did not factor in or something like that. It's never if like I'm just waiting for this one product to like get on sale and then boom, Amazon credit will help. I'm like, I don't really have a reason to keep it as credit, but yeah, I'll more often than not just refund it to the card,
Okay.
unless they'll give me a little bit more credit on Amazon. I'll be like, okay, refund me.
Okay.
But I don't even
So
think they'll
like,
do that because they're only supposed to refund you the amount you paid for anyway. So
oh man, if they offered like
yeah, who
$50
knows?
more for the
Who
product,
knows?
yeah, I don't know, man. Companies do that. So
Hey Jeff
yeah,
Bezos, can you give me a $10 extra for Amazon credit balance,
for
please?
one
For
trillion
refunds,
dollars.
yeah, for refunds,
Yeah,
please. You know,
it's not like it
I
hurts
feel like
them.
if it's extra $10 refund for the credit balance, I feel like I'll be more inclined to maybe keep it as a card like account balance. Because it
And
kind
if
of
I
makes
was,
sense. They're just gonna refund you the exact amount to your card. Because like it's also to any transaction fee or whatnot. You don't want that, so just keep it to the amount you paid for. But because if you're gonna keep the account balance on Amazon, Amazon's Amazon. Like Jeff Bezos,
yeah,
he has like
yeah,
so much resources to like
he has so
give
much
that.
money. He's probably like, wait, when did he do it? Like, oh, just yesterday. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Right now, as we speak, he's making money, bro. Just be,
Well, I
just
can
saying.
we can help flatten the curve through returns. But
Oh,
I
help us out, guys.
digress.
Help
I
us out.
digress.
Yeah.
um. Yeah. Appreciate that, Luis. Thank you.
Mm,
Um.
yeah, Jessica.
For me, interesting news was this platform called Fediverse. It is a compound word taking blending both the word federation and the word universe. It is a decentralized network of interconnected social media platforms. So basically, to really simplify that term I just used of interconnected social media platforms, it's just your social media essentially. But
Yeah.
decentralized just meaning like it's not focusing and being held by one monopoly. So instead, what Fediverse does is they would operate using open source platforms like ActivityPub, for example. So unlike your Twitter and Facebook centralized services that which consist of one company, like for Facebook and Instagram, it's Meta. Um,
Mm,
Instead of having a company, a big monopoly that would like have control over the user data and the content moderation. Instead, Fediverse consists of independent servers, so you have or independent instances that communicate with each other while maintaining local control with each independent user. So basically, how it works, and I tried my best to simplify it as how I was able to understand it. Each platform, for example, Mastodon for microblogging. So basically, like your tweets, your Reddit threads on that. Those
good
are the
post.
equivalent on Fediverse. You have
Okay.
PeerTube, which is basically self-explanatory. It's an alternative video hosting site to YouTube, and then PixelFed, which is a bit more interesting of a name, but it's still pretty straightforward. Where it's just image sharing, basically like your stories, your photos, stuff like that. They're all hosted on separate servers, but they still interact seamlessly with each other. And so, created accounts from users on any instance can follow and communicate with users from different instances or different integrations. So it fosters this more of a open and diverse online community and ecosystem rather than like, oh, everyone's like on Instagram and like Twitter and like YouTube, but like one company is holding all that data respectively on each
Yeah,
platform.
the cross
Yeah.
platforms.
So instead, it's like within Fediverse, there's like this umbrella of like different instances and different open sources that pretty much replicate the same thing, but it's with less of concern of like what they're doing with your data and like how they're moderating different content. So it's more like decentralized. It's more focused on user protection data. So
I wonder, would this affect like any, not AdSense, not like YouTubers, but like advertisers, like, oh, we want to still sponsor you to make this content on this platform. Like YouTubers pretty much,
mhm.
right? Like, oh, this is provided by, and like, would that be affected? Like, I wonder how would that play? Because
I
like that's
that is an interesting thought, and it's a little bit on my next like sub point for it.
Mm.
The benefits and challenges of this like Fediverse, of what it's striving
Yeah.
to do, right? Where the pros of it is you have again greater user control over data. You have reduced reliance on corporate monopolies to moderate different policies and different content, customizable moderation policies from Fediverse, and it's more focused on community driven like ethics and just overall it's community based. It's not like, oh, the Fediverse makes the rules. Like they'll make the core like policies and rules, right? But it's not like, oh, Instagram will allow certain people to do this and Instagram will not allow certain people to do this. Like no, it's
Yeah.
very
Makes sense.
community based, and so it involves a lot more of the community to take part in it as well. So it's kind of like a this is a little nerdy, but it's like if Reddit was like had many different GitHub repositories and you needed people to like check if there's any issues or not and like say thank you for this code, thank you
Moderation.
for the readme file, thank you for putting this assembly language together. It's like, oh my gosh. But
That'd
yeah.
be kind of cool though. That'd be kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry. That'd be kind of cool to have that kind of community. But man, I think it would take a while to get to that level. Just like to kind of keep everybody in check, but in a fair way.
Yeah,
You know?
that is one of the challenges too. um Here, let me pull it up a little bit. So yeah, some of the challenges are higher technical barriers to entry, because again, you were mentioning like how to keep that fair moderation and each user to be like checked fairly.
Mm.
That is a challenge for sure. um Potential fragmentation of data. So like the three different open source protocols with pixelfed, mastodon, and what was the other one, Mastodon and PeerTube, right? Like three different sources that still are integrated within Fediverse, but they're three
Yeah.
different hosting servers. The potential issue with that is because it's three different servers or three different instances, translation between policies from one platform to the other, making sure they're streamlined and they're able to fluently um, and seamlessly integrate with each other, so the user can interact seamlessly with one from the other. That is a potential issue too. Um,
Mm.
Another one is more so on the inconsistent moderation, because again, going to what translates properly and what doesn't, you also need to abide by. Generally, you're going to have to abide by the each open source instance like set of policies and rules, and so whereas like Instagram, where like you have stories, you have posts, and then you have like reels, right?
Mm.
Like it's not like that on Fediverse because they're all different. So like PixelFed is purely for image sharing, like, and PeerTube is anything video related, whether short or long form,
Oh,
and
okay.
then Mastodon is your blogging, so like tweets, Reddit threads, basically, comments, stuff like that. So because they're all separate and not like how in Instagram, for example, it's all integrated within one. Like you can comment, you can repost a post, reshare a
Make some
story,
video.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, there is going to be some inconsistencies in moderation and standardizations and in making sure server rules are implicated properly. So those are some challenges for sure. But so far, what's really good for it, or what it has going for it, is Mastodon, which is the most well-known Fediverse platform. Often compared to Twitter or X, depending on what you
Oh,
want to call it. It's
oh yeah,
basically the same platform, but I know some
yeah.
people will be like, "Oh, it's X." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever,
Um,
buddy." But yeah. So that Mastodon, the blogging clone of like X for Fediverse, is very well compared to Twitter. So a lot of people will say this is what it copied and this is what it does better than X, for example. And I can't go into all of them because I haven't tested them personally, so or rather, I haven't seen it visually happen yet. But so far, I've seen a lot of people that are saying similar or the same things. So there seems to be that going well
is
for
there
them.
any testing going on, already usage on it?
Yeah, you can if you go to their website, Fediverse, you can go and sign up, and then here, hold on, let me look for
'Cause if not, you know what, guys, just sign in. Let's do it. It's our community.
it. So you can join the Fediverse. Um, Nothing different than like how you would sign up for an Instagram account, Facebook account, YouTube account. Nothing different really. Um, of course, you just have to get used to like how the different open sources like work, and like how
Yeah.
to go from one to the other. But other than that, it's really not that different. Like it's not something foreign to people. I don't believe it would be anything foreign to people. Like if they want to see what it does and try it out, like it'll probably just require a few extra steps, which is why I mentioned it being higher technical entry. Because like yes, it's a simple sign up for an account, but like you just also need to understand how to use PixelFed and then move to Mastodon and then move to PeerTube, and like how to switch to across those three, for
Mhm.
example. But
So
other
it's gonna
than
be
that,
like,
it's not that
is this
different, really.
is this Google? Is it what was it? Google Plus, or what was the Google Circle thing? For me, social media. Do you remember?
Oh my gosh, what is that? I forgot already. That's a
Like,
that's
I
a.
hope it doesn't end up like that.
Ooh, wait a minute.
Is it Google? Not Google Plus? Like something. I'm like, please don't
Yeah,
give me those
Google. I think
vibes.
it's Google Plus Circles. Yeah, I don't think it's like
Yeah,
that because
don't.
Google. The thing with Google Plus was you can only have a Google account, and like you're limited to the services from Google. So like there's no. Yeah, because the
Don't end
thing
up
with
like that.
Fediverse too is like since it allows integration from many open source platforms, you're not limited to like a certain number. You're really just limited to like what is available, and that's just
Mm.
going to keep increasing based on how many people want to contribute to open source platforms.
I'm gonna sign up because I can navigate that. That's not hard. To be fair, so I'm gonna try that. Man, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
I did
So
not
there's like
know
other
that.
platforms too, like again PeerTube, and this one called Friendica. It's an alternative Facebook essentially. Really interesting names, really interesting names. But
I
yeah.
don't know, man.
So Fediverse has gained this popularity as users want privacy focused and like ad free. So this is where I am still kind of researching right now.
Mm.
It's been ad free. I don't know if it's projected to be like
How
that
is it?
for long or short, or if the goal completely is to keep it ad free forever. But I want to research how like they're still one making profit in the sense of like yes you are open
Being
source, but
open?
also to maintain like your servers and like to further develop like
Yeah.
R&D for the platforms and the website. Um, the other thing is, or it continues to focus on privacy focused user protection for the individuals, consumers. It promotes itself as ad free, and it also strives to have censorship resistant social media experiences. So there's a lot of like things Instagram and Facebook would censor, and especially in politics, there's like I won't get into that, but like you can see
Yeah.
clear examples of one side getting censored and another side getting censored. It's just like it's like what then is the line to censor a like post or story or a account even, to make it fair. So this they're focusing on censorship resistant, not censorship free, of course, because obviously there are going to have to be some boundaries where like, okay, if you cross this line, then like of course this has to be censored or like removed or taken down. But their goal is to not be as like biased and selective as like the other
My
companies
platforms.
and platforms are doing.
Mm.
So that's what is I've been looking into, and that's a very interesting thing for me. Fediverse really interesting, and part of me got hooked into it because it uses like API open sources. Like open source is one thing, but API open sources are another thing, and so that's what got
Yeah.
me hooked. I was like, okay, this is worth a look.
I mean, I can see where navigation is gonna be a problem. Like, don't get like too simple, because then that's gonna like ruin it. But
Mm-hmm.
to be seamless, to be like with all the branches that it provides of its services. I mean, you're fair, but wow,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that too, because like, mm, how are you gonna? That itself is gonna be a struggle, and then also keeping this free, and
Mm-hmm.
also because servers are not, electricity is not free. Adding more servers while your user base gets bigger, and maintaining those servers is not free. Um, Man, I mean, unless they make a rule or a policy for advertisements, like, hey, we can't advertise you in, the side of our bar all the way to the bottom or something. Like, like make it seamless. Don't make like really up in the face, like here, buy this now or something like that. But like, no, you'll be there, but just hidden. You
Mm-hmm.
know, some I don't know, like that. I do want to see into that actually. Let me see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just a quick addition regarding like the account, like the sign up process. Like it's not that different than like signing up for Instagram or Twitter account. Like for example, the higher technical entry point that I mentioned is like for Mastodon, for example, you would sign up and create an account for that, and it would be saved in the Fediverse server. And basically, you don't need to make another account within any of Mastodon's open sources. But if you like want to
Mm,
hop onto PixelFed, you would have to make an account for PixelFed. But then once that's registered in the Fediverse server, it'll realize, oh, it's the
it's
same, and
saved.
then it links both. But you do need to make another one
Oh,
for PixelFed, and then
do you mean
PeerTube, you have to make another one for PeerTube. But then it gets logged into
it
your
becomes one
Fediverse
account?
server. Yeah, so it realizes that like
Oh,
these are linked, and then it just put together. So that's why there is that. I mentioned it as a higher technical entry, but once that's over, like it's not that much different than like having like different accounts on the Instagram page or on Instagram or on Facebook. It's just sometimes for people it might be a little annoying to like, oh, if I want to switch from Mastodon servers to PixelFed, like which is a different instance, then you have to make another account for that, and then PeerTube make another account for that. I
I
personally am
mean,
fine with that because
yeah.
I'm really interested in seeing how the integration goes. Although I still need to think about it more because I did give up social media, so I just want to make sure this is not a reason for me to get back onto it, but just
Oh my goodness,
purely for experimentation and research, just to
that
see
is
how it
true,
is.
bro.
That is all. But
That is
I mean,
true.
if it's for research, I think that's the best justification I can give for. It's not like I'm trying to go somewhere else or anything. It's just really to see how it works.
You
And
give up social media.
I
You
also
give
at least
general
want to
social media.
have at least like some experience with it so I can have a better assessment of it, of course. Because of course, hands-on experience is way better than
You
like
want to be part of the
just reading
OGs.
it. Oh, that too,
You'll be
maybe.
like, they're gonna be like the first video in the Metaverse. It's like it's you.
Oh no, no,
First account, it's
it's
you.
not me. It's not me for sure. Because it's been, I think Fediverse has been up since like December.
Oh,
Yeah, but
okay.
it just started to gain more traction. I think as of late January, early this
I'll
month.
sign up.
Cause it's like I realized it's like on the same trend as like Blue Sky. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But
I
Blue
mean,
Sky's its own other thing. So
yeah,
I
like
digress.
yeah, it's fair. Actually, thank you, Joseph. Like, I actually am gonna check it out. I mean, from there on, you can just branch out to make more and more and more as you want. in being in just one account, kind of detecting you're just one person
Mm.
based on all of these. I feel like, I mean, with that mindset, we could say that too. We have a different accounts. We have to either write down the password and username or write it down somewhere. But instead, you're just one person having multiple already in one.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how to do with the passwords because there's always that battle
Oh
of
yeah.
not having a password now. Companies don't want you to have passwords anymore. Um, but that's a different take that I'd be interested. Like, yeah, that's like I was saying, the advertisement is the only place like where would it play? Because unfortunately, we need advertisements to
Keep
kind of
things running
justify,
too. You
yeah,
needed to keep
to
things
to
running
fund
up
it.
and running too.
Yeah,
Especially with this
because
one, like open source. Like, oh, you. It's really interesting how they're going to receive funds to maintain the upkeep of the servers, the contracts between different server instances, and yeah, just keep everything running. That's what I'm still looking into how that works out.
unless it charges you like a membership,
I
or not
I
membership, but
I
like
would not be surprised if they charge a membership for like, oh, either you want to get a verified check on your account or for something else like really specific.
oh my
But
goodness.
I hope they don't do
No.
that like X. But I'm just saying there is that potential route. But of course, the membership would have to offer perks and different things that you can't have on the free tier. But so far, it's free.
But
So
sign up before you have to get charged to make an account. Like I would. I'm gonna sign up after this because I
Hmm.
do want to check it out. I want to mess with it. Um, I wonder how it'd be on like phones and on
Hmm.
compute. Because like computers do have, or laptops, or actual rigs. Like they do have Instagram, but nobody. I don't think many people go on Instagram on their computer and be like, let me see
Hmm.
what's going on. I think it's mainly on phones. Um, but like Facebook, uh, I would not say majority, but like mostly people do go on computers and check it out there. Um, that's before these kind of smartphones that we had. But I would say that would be kind of a good transition to know that too. That take on that.
Hmm.
Would it be fun on the computer, on the actual computer instead of the phone? Because that's also another
Hmm.
poll there we can do. That'd be another interesting aspect of it. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna check it out then. That's a good take, Joseph, on that. I did not see it on the radar. Sorry, not see it on the radar. So I would definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Even if you wouldn't want to commit to like making an account, at least just seeing what it has in regarding its documentation and what it has regarding its description of how it differentiates itself, it's still worth a look into. So
No, no, yeah, no, it is worth it. It is worth it. The new tech is it? Wait, you said December, so no, it's kind of a new tech. Kinda
yeah,
was
kind of.
February.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a couple of months in already, but it's just I think since it started actually getting its traction like really recently, it's like enough to consider it new, even if it's been like almost 3 months in. But only because
Yes.
like it's actually getting the spotlight now.
And now people actually, or they actually have to maintain it now instead of just
Hmm.
a fever dream. It's like okay, now we actually have to keep it running. Because I mean, I don't know if you know the story of WhatsApp. Like it was free,
Oh yeah,
and then it became a dollar fee, to get the phone or to get the app, and then it became free again. Then bought by Facebook. It's like whoa, like hey, you know, one of the big actual companies can be like, look, we can just buy you out right now for some $1 billion.
yeah. Hmm.
And it's like, do they say yes? And it becomes just again the same thing that we've literally been doing, or do they stick with the guns and somehow find a way to make money, and then
Hmm.
boom, because I think every social media could start like this. YouTube got paid out like that, but it was free
Hmm.
at first. Well, it's still free, but with no advertisement.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, yeah, that. so many ways it can go.
Hmm.
Okay, now that I see it.
Indeed. And with using these platforms, we're going to, we can use them on laptops, on desktops, and phones. And so the next thing I want to ask Luis is regarding phones. Let me take it to a hardware feature.
Hardware aspect.
Would you do you prefer large phones or small phones?
Man, dude. Okay, I'll give small phones a respect for all the ladies out there. I really, really do. Because 3.5, 4.5 inches of screen is awesome. But for my big hands, literally like, but you know that cancer game where it's like
Oh
your
yeah.
hands cover your face. Like I'm like always thinking I have cancer because I'm like, dude, like my hands cover my face. So it's like I need a big phone. Like I always not saying like I go for the Pro Max because it's just because it's bigger. It's not
Mhm.
because like oh the hardware and like oh get that nice camera. It's like that's like the last thing I think about. It's more is it a big size phone because I need to be able to actually grasp it, firmly grasp it. Um, and I really did try with the small phones and this is coming from somebody that's tried from all kind of carriers.
Mm.
Uh, no, I can't do the small screens. I can't unless the big screens like really suck. Like they're really, really like 240p, kind of quality. That's
Mm.
when I'll give in. I'm like, whatever else. I'll go to a small phone, but so far they've been good.
Mm.
You know, definitely other companies are I'm eyeing on for actually a different phone now. And but still, what's their biggest screen for me or biggest phone to be fair? And that's where I am now looking towards that and always look towards the biggest from it comes from phones on
Mm.
of the technology aspect. So yeah,
Interesting.
I would say not no on small phones for me.
Mm.
For me. What about you?
Interesting.
Can you do both? Can you like if you had to stick to one phone size forever, can you do both and not have a problem with it?
That's tough. I'm
Like
gonna have
either
to go
size
with
you
I'm gonna
pick
have to
has
go with big phones,
big
cause
phones? Wait,
my
why though?
my current driver as well as my previous phone have been big screens, and I also have large hands, and I personally like larger screens, just because
Mm,
I like to see con like also a higher resolution that like scaled up to a larger display. I just like seeing it in a larger scale, but
mm,
especially with my current phone now, just to be able to have like 3 4 different apps open on one screen, it's a
so
huge thing for
dope.
me, because I don't think I think the most you can do at like a regular rectangular slab of a screen is 2. So to be
That's
able
barely.
to, yeah, and that's probably your average phone screen size, which is like 5.8 inches or 6.6 inch screen, like corner to corner. That's like
Yeah.
that's not even like what was considered large years ago is now considered like average. So like that's why it's interesting. If I don't know exactly how I would translate if I were to have a smaller phone, but I'd have to go with big, just because the last phone I had and the phone I have now were big screens, and I just like being able to like use different things across one screen. It's like basically if you're the type of person, which I also am, to have like Microsoft Edge open like half of the screen, and then like Firefox open half of the screen as well, and then my other monitor I have like 3 different, like one is half a screen and like quarter, like so many different like tabs are open, and that's just me. I like to have different things open to multitask, and then if ever I just need to use one app, it's like I get spoiled with like just seeing it in a big screen. That's all. But really, I just like a big screen to allow me to do things. Um, I will say also, for specifically for my phone, taking notes on it is actually really helpful with when you unfold it. It really is
Yeah.
a huge assist in having a screen that big. So that's another reason why I would have big screens. Even if it were to
I
be
as
a
far as
non-foldable phone, just having a bigger
uh,
screen helps with writing notes, even if you're
no,
typing it still. So.
I honestly, because I still have my iPhone 5. That was my gift from my dad.
Mhm.
Man, I held that. I was like, that's puny to me, and that was like considered like big back then. That's like where the like phablet kind of era started to come in. The HTC
Mm.
um kind of era too. That that was considered big. It's like I think the 4.5 screens were like considered average back then,
Mm.
and now we're going to like 6, 7 inches across.
Mm.
It's like what people would see back then. They would call this probably a phablet, like you know the big iPhones. And dude, if they saw yours, it's an iPad,
It's like an iPad
or like
Mini. It's an iPad Mini.
it's like honestly, yes. The folds. Dude, I'm jealous every time I see your phone. Like I'm swinging to that. Do I go for a flip? Because then that will go.
Sorry.
That's
I
different
have a
now.
Windows tablet. I have a Windows tablet. I'm
Um,
sorry.
no. Do I go for that? Special, like. Well, of course, like I said yesterday, I was gonna take notes on actual like pen and paper, but like when I just forget, do I want that phone as like a good little mini computer so I can take notes real
Mhm.
quick while the sermon going on or the sermon's going on or just like any talk that is important for me.
Mhm.
Um, like I want to be able to do that. Like if I were in a small phone, I'd be actually frustrated and more focused on trying to like make sure all the words are correct because
Mhm.
big thumbs hit two
Yeah,
letters at the same time, registers nothing or something
I
or the
feel you.
wrong one. So that that's what I'm like, man. Gotta stick to big phones. Ladies, I will respect it. You got there is that little market for not little, but like a big market for little phones. Just
Mhm.
because it's practical. And I do see the phone industry going back to small, sticking with fewer big phones, but more now small. And it's not just
Mhm.
Apple. I don't think Apple honestly was the starter because usually how Apple is the one that starts
Mhm.
kind of a trend and they follow. It's no actually iPhone. No, iPhone followed the big trend, but I don't know who made this small one. I haven't noticed one yet. That has made small phones
Mhm.
the new trend. Um, but I don't want to ramble too much on that, but yeah, big is my way. Not just for the content, because I
Mhm.
have to firmly grasp it again without breaking my phone.
Mhm. I
But
feel
yeah.
you. Speaking of phones, still moving to software now, and this
Ooh,
can apply to any app or just the software UI itself.
okay. Mhm.
Would you prefer to have things less and more minimal, or would you prefer things to be more to have more and it's compact or not compact? I don't think that's the right word. It's more okay. Let me rephrase it. Would you prefer to
How
have UI UI design that is it seems uh, bland but it's minimal and it's easier to navigate, or would you prefer to have things that look more cluttered and like overwhelming but it's a lot more technical?
more technical,
This
but can
is
I
this is
organize it?
this is yeah, this is a very loose. I'm loosely referring to
I
the
was an
Android
Android.
iOS ecosystem. I'm very
I
loosely.
mean, I guess Linux too counts, but um,
Oh, Linux is its own thing. Let me be honest. It's its
yeah,
own thing. It's
it's
its own
on.
thing.
What about Windows? Huh?
Windows has left
I
the
mean,
chat.
Nokia, no. Um, man, honestly, I would want Android. I know people would. I know some people don't like it, but like, oh, it's not simple. If you take your time, and I know people would argue on this, if you take your time and customize it to what you want,
Mhm.
you'll easily navigate the whole entire phone. easily.
Mhm.
But then people would argue, then why would I have to sit down and have to navigate my own, my own phone? It's like that makes no sense. And when you actually have your own car, wouldn't you want to be able to modify whatever you want in the car?
Mhm.
Like change it to whatever color you want, change to whatever seating you want. Like, don't you want to have control over your, what you just bought? And
Mhm.
I know is a dead argument. People have been beating it 100 times. Personally, I would just go with Android because as much as I love iOS simplicity, it takes away so much control away from you. Like, if anything, Apple's the one chasing Android on features, and it's like, man, I could have had those features like 5 years ago. You know, yeah, I would say, man, there's so much I could say on having Android over iOS. So I would rather organize it, be more bland, complex for me than simple but easy to navigate, I guess.
Mm.
What about you?
I would be in the same boat as you. Um, I mean, I'm biased. I'll be honest because I grew up with Android for the longest amount of
Hmm.
time, and I honestly have never used iOS. But even if I
We could
haven't
trade
used
phones.
iOS, I've
We could
seen.
trade phones for a whole
Oh
year.
my gosh! But even if I haven't used iOS personally, I've seen enough videos where I'm like, why would I want that? Why would I
Oh,
want that? And I get it. There's a culture aspect behind that too, and I'm like, sure,
mm,
whatever. But for me, as someone who is very detail oriented and organized, I don't mind if it looks cluttered. As long as you're able to give me control of how to flow through that clutter per se, then that's fine with me. Because I'll know what to do. As long as
that's true.
I am given the ability to do it, then what seems as a clutter will be it'll help me to navigate and make it look not like a clutter, or basically to declutter it to the way I want it to be. As long as you give me the
Yeah,
tools to do so.
yeah. I feel like the mentality I used to. One of my old friends would say, like, it's like a home. Everybody's home. The person that comes in might think it's cluttered, but the person that lives there knows exactly where everything is. The
Yeah.
person that's in control. And I never thought of it because I thought it was so. I remember when I got Android on HTC, it was just so overwhelming.
Hmm.
Uh, Coming from a teen, I was like, I just wanted a phone, man. I just wanted to know how to call and look up Instagram and buy apps. Okay, but like once you take time and kind of make it homey, like for you,
Hmm.
anybody that gets on your phone is just like, where's this, where's that, and you instantly will know where it is. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's on this folder or in
Yeah.
this second this page of swipes. And if anything, Android's trying to make it even more friendly to like navigate. I've
Hmm.
realized that too. Recently, like it's not that hard. Um, but again, I want to be just give me the ability to declutter it my way or organize it my way. I'll be fine. If somehow Android was like, no, it has to stay here and clear this way only, I would not probably be Android
Hmm.
because like if you have no, zero control, then let me just stay with Apple. That already makes it zero control, but I don't get lost within seconds.
Hmm.
You know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think you're missing out on much, man. Like honestly, you're better off. Every time I see your family with like Android phones, like man, my family could just be in all Android and just be all together somehow. Um, because then they would be like if I change, they'd be like I'll keep my phone still, but like when I get my
Hmm.
Android phone, they'll be like, what do you do here? Like, what can we FaceTime you? What can we like send you this emoji? Where are you sending us this emoji? It's like, or the green and blue one. I don't know what's Apple's move there now. That stupid argument. That appeared. It's like, man, okay. I just did it for this move, but if my family was like yours, when it came to just Android,
Hmm.
I'd be so happy. Like, ugh, you know how many games they can have in the actual, you know, in the freaking store, or like ROMs. I'm not condemning it or not condemning it. I'm not promoting it. There we go.
Mm.
But like some games you could be downloading on your phone, and actually looks like a DS.
Mm-hmm. True.
Just saying,
True.
because you know we can't do that on iPhone as much. So
You can't
yeah,
emulate games on your iPhone.
man, that's crazy, bro. That is crazy, and they don't even let it on like actual laptops too. It's like Apple is so controlling and it's annoying because it's like, what was it? John David, your brother, he has already like so many games. I'm like, man, I want like this. And I showed him, he's like, I have it too. I'm like, no. I'm like, it's not the same though. It's like I have like the most basic one. You have the better one. It's like, oh, I didn't know. It's like, trust me, if you know tech, Android's better when it comes to actually have better games to emulate. Just saying, just saying. Unless Apple changes, I don't know. I doubt that, but yeah.
Yeah, felt. Yeah, I quickly just the reason why I prefer the whole cluttered look of it too, per se,
Yeah.
is again just the ability to cater it to how you want it to be. Like with this whole dynamic of blue bubble and green bubble. Like this again
Oh,
is an American issue only. The only reason why is because if you look
hmm.
across not just the culture in America, but really the UI design principle in America, it's to keep it minimalistic, keep it simple, easy to follow, easy to understand. And that's why it's not overwhelming. A lot of websites are not overwhelming in the US, and a lot of apps like PayPal, Venmo, and like any other like food delivery service app, it's not really cluttered. It's very like, oh, this icon is clearly referring to this. I can navigate to here. Easy navigation, simple, gets the job done. However, if you look in the West or the East, well, depending, but basically, like in Asia, for example, they adopt the principle of the cluttered look, like especially in UI design. If you compare it to their like in China, they have a banking app there. I forget the name, but there's a banking app where I looked at it first and I'm like, what is this? It's like a cluttered mess, and I'm like, it took me a
Wait,
bit to understand why it was a cluttered mess, and essentially the principle and the culture in the West or I keep mixing up in Asia essentially, right?
East,
Yeah, in the
yeah.
eastern part of the world because we're in the West. In the eastern part of the world, right? So the principle there, not just in the culture but in the UI design, is that if it doesn't look cluttered, then it's not reliable.
If it doesn't look
Yeah,
cluttered, it's not
yeah.
reliable.
If I'm not seeing a lot of different tabs and options to like navigate to different things,
Oh wow.
then the consumer considers it as not useful. You're not giving me enough resources to provide to me as a consumer to navigate to what I want to.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
And I know
and
like that the view of it.
yeah, and that's on a similar parallel with like the green blue bubbles in like Asia, for example, in the eastern part of the world. It's not really a big deal because nobody really cares about bubble colors. Because first of all,
Who cares?
people use WeChat, WhatsApp, different messaging apps, and
Oh
all those
yeah,
different messaging apps as well give you the ability
different
to a degree
colors.
or not of different colors. And
Yeah,
again, even if they don't give you the option of different colors, what people consider more is like the ability to face call, read receipts, typing indicators, and now as
yeah.
of recently, quantum encryption. To maybe not every consumer, but like to every consumer that is concerned
They
about
have it.
user protection,
Yeah,
quantum encryption really helps.
yeah.
So yeah, with this, it does not translate from the west to the east. That this whole green bubble blue bubble thing, it's nonsense to them. And if they were to look at our apps, like if we were to compare both apps, like when we look at their apps, it's like this is a cluttered mess, it's overwhelming. And when they look at
Yeah,
our apps, they're like,
I've
this
seen
is
that.
too minimal, what is happening? So it's a really interesting
That
dynamic
makes
where
sense.
the West has adopted this UI design principle and also to a degree the culture of keeping things simple and minimalistic, whereas in the East, it's if you are keeping things too minimal, it is not useful, it's not resourceful, and we're going to call you out for it.
You're taking away.
You're
Yeah,
taking
you're taking
away like
away
things that we want to
resources.
do. So it's really
Actually,
interesting one
makes
like
sense.
180, like two sides of the same coin essentially. Like it's really interesting how that those like play out, and it's really only in America It's different.
I
Well,
know
I
you're
guess I
right.
guess to a degree it goes to America as well. Like regarding physics, like we're the only ones, or in sciences, we're still the only ones using a different metric system than the rest of the world.
Dude,
So,
it's so annoying. I had to learn both metric systems.
bro, you're telling me I had to learn how
And
to convert that for
yeah, no,
physics.
no,
It's
this
annoying.
coming from, yeah, no, you learned it that way. I legit had to, coming from the fourth grade, coming to the fourth grade, learning, now new math. It's like, wait, where's the meters? Where's the centimeter? Like, I'm like,
What does this
the
IN
foot.
stand for? What does this
Yeah, yeah,
CM
yeah.
stand for? I recognize CM, I think. Well,
I
IN,
thought no, I
FT.
thought IN was incorporated. Like
In-
they were just like INC instead, but it was
oh my
IN,
gosh.
but it was inches, not incorporated. So for me, the math transition for that, oh my gosh, dude, it was just the metric system so much more simpler, bro. But actually, I just want to add to what you said. That makes sense why Apple's not doing so good in China. Um, it's not their manufacturing; it's that they're trying to sell their brand, and they pivoted from brand, um, just like instead of being a brand, just like a nice brand to buy, they insisted like, oh no, it's like a Gucci phone, like
Yeah,
like it's more than just they're selling their brand, not their device anymore.
yeah.
And it's funny that you say that because I'm like, yeah, Apple's very minimized on their UI. That's why they not be doing so hot over there in China, and they had to change to actual India. Not there was such a funny thing because like India has this law that 30% of your actual product has to be like made in India. So like when Tim Cook had to do it, he went to the actual president to like see if there can be a law passed by like it's okay for iPhones because
Mm.
it's gonna be still local. But it's like he pretty much said no, still make it here or else like follow the law or else
Mm.
because China was just doing so bad in selling iPhones in China, and so now it's gonna be all done in India, but
Mm.
it's like that makes so much more sense why they see an iPhone as like a garbage kind of option. Because like all their phones, their software is if like it's like they made it like it has to be reliable and it has to give me a lot of options to do
Mm.
these jobs the way I want it, not the way you say it is supposed to be done. That makes so much more sense. Like I actually did not know that, and now it makes more sense on the aspect of sales for iPhones and what Apple's trying to leave in general, because their computers are tanking too.
Mm.
So they shifted, instead of selling, just manufacturing. You know, I mean, I don't know. I can't blame them. I look at an iPhone; it is simple, like very very simplistic. It gets to the point, but there's things that you would want to get to the point, and some things you don't want them to just get to the point. Like, okay, I can get to the point, or if I wanted to do some things before I get to that,
Mm.
I would also like those options. It's like, yeah, they do steal options. Not going. If anything, they'll sell you the options later on.
Oh my
That's what they
gosh.
like to do. It's like, no, like, what was it? What's it? What's that thing? What's that app when you like? Oh, I forgot the name of the app. Where it's like they sold an app on the App Store where it was for if you didn't know what the song was called, you just open the app and it
Oh,
like records
Shazam.
it. Shazam, yeah, it was, and then it became they kicked it out of that App Store and then made it a feature. It's like, dude, you guys can't be original. You guys have to steal ideas, if not from your own store, from competitors. It's like that's sad, and I see why China's like, yeah, no, we kind of don't like that in our culture. That wow. Thank you for opening my eyes on that. I did not know that. I guess the West is different. We like less clutter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
kind of
interesting.
weird.
Yeah, I digress
Mm.
from that. Really quickly, Luis.
Yeah.
It's a question for both you and I. Um, what would your ideal smartphone be?
Oh, okay. So screen wise, I would say. Wait, let me take a look at iPhone. I like the camera off the bat.
Mm.
Like the camera. I think eventually others are gonna catch up, but based on what I know so far. Um, so let's go with the camera from the iPhone. Samsung. Most screens are beautiful. So any OLED screen from any Samsung phone recent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'll do that. Battery, you know, we talked about this last time. I don't think batteries are yet there. I'd be only fighting for speed.
Mm.
Hmm, I so so the Nothing phones I know charge faster than the iPhone, so I would take any of their batteries. Like just I'm not clocking in with like 5 minutes full charge like something that'd be crazy. I don't know. I don't want that yet because I want my house not to be burnt down or I want the battery to last. Um, Android has to have Android. Like if I could right now, I would switch to Android. Um, and the Ultra series. Hmm. No, the Ultra series right now. I would take that body, like that like actual body, but their camera side, not yet. I don't want to just have a zoom in camera. I don't care about the zooming like as much. I just enough, but the recording, the slow mo, that's what I care about. Um, so that would be my if I'm missing anything. Um, I think that's bare bone. I don't. Does it matter? The glass of a phone, like I need to have the strength of this phone. Like when they drop test it.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be part of it?
If you want.
Of building? Okay, don't give me a plastic phone. Just give me a glass. Just give me a glass. Durability of Nokia, but
Okay.
somehow in metal form.
Okay.
um, that's my rough draft, but I feel like there could be more specifics if you have any.
Mm.
I'll put into. Go ahead.
For me, it would be I want a camera. I want the camera and camera signs from the Pixel. I want the video and
Ooh.
video signs from the iPhone. I want the UI from Nothing. I want the
Mm.
battery from, well, as of recently only, I want the silicon carbon battery from OnePlus, and I want the screen and the body of a Samsung, specifically a Ultra, because I like the Note still, because
Okay.
their Ultras are the Note now. So
What would
let's
you
see.
say? Okay, go. But I want to ask you a question on that.
Uh, regarding charging, maybe Huawei, just because I'll flex that 65
Mm,
watt charging.
I
Uh,
know. I was thinking about that, but I'm like, with that would fry my battery.
just a
Okay.
flex, just a flex. Um, I think it
Dang.
would be. I think it would be. Oh, and then for me, it would be like the the thickness of like your typical smartphone, like maybe an
Oh my.
S24 or like a Nothing phone or iPhone, like whatever that average size is, but it's in a form factor that thin as a foldable.
That's a foldable. Oh my goodness.
So
You're
it's
gonna have.
practically impossible because of the battery.
Yeah. I'm. Well, to be fair, they can have two slabs. Like
Yeah,
it's a
but to
triangle,
keep
but
it
like
that thin is tough.
I know
Cause
that's where.
when I say it's like the thickness of like your iPhone, like without the case, like to that's I'm referring to the thickness of a folding phone when it's folded, not unfolded. So when it's unfolded, it's even
Oh,
thinner. So that's why I'm
it's
like it's practically
so
impossible. It's
this is
practically
okay. So
impossible,
this is like
realistically
one
speaking.
slab.
Yeah, realistically speaking, it's practically impossible.
I mean, okay, the charging of Huawei. I mean,
Yeah.
unless it throw me in the cool animation that it does when it plugs in. I'm
Oh
sold.
snap. Okay.
You know, have you seen that? And it
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Okay,
actually like
okay.
shows that it's charging. Okay, then I will take that because I've been always jealous. Always jealous. I see that. I want that. Just to see it in person, if anything.
Mm.
Um, but I do want my battery. If I can limit the charge, if I can limit how fast it goes, like oh, I said like okay for 100 in 5 minutes into an hour, like if I can control that, I would take that charging. I don't think companies can do it yet, but I would take that to limit its power depending on what I want. Um, but I want to ask you this: what phone like build you find super sexy, but you know it sucks? You're like, dang it, why isn't that like this?
Oh snap. Oh,
You never thought of that?
oh gosh. Oh. Oh good. Oh wow.
Yeah, no, like the phone, or it could be any year's phone. You know, like dang, it's really nice. Good, looks so amazing. I want to
Oh
have it.
gosh, that's a tough question.
I have so many years that like why you
Oh.
look so good, but you suck so bad.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna need a minute to think. Oh gosh. What is a phone
Really?
I thought of that was good body wise, but it sucked software wise?
Or it could suck like it was almost there. You know, it was like, man, but you suck because of this, because you have this one aspect of it. You know,
Oh. Oh. Hmm.
like for me, it was the first like foldable phones. I really wanted to love them. I really loved when they closed. Once I found out the hinges sucked, it was gone. It was the dream was dead for me, right? Like, because like I told you before, I research everything before I buy it. And
Yeah.
once I found that out, like no, like you just killed my dreams of having a foldable flip again. So
Oh my gosh.
that's my any note from like 2019 down. I'm so curious what you
I'm
have.
really thinking in my head right now. I go, hmm.
And if anybody that has a phone they love and really wanted to love it, just leave in the comments. Just like the name or the year. A year maybe of phones that sucked because you really wanted to love them. Could be software, could be hardware, could be well, somewhat hardware. You know, because they can look good cameras, but the camera specs
Oh
suck.
gosh. This is. Trying to
It
remember.
could be recent phones too. You know, some phones recently could look ugly, but really work really nice. You know,
I. Oh gosh.
just like
This is tough.
is it tough? Is something you want to think about later or next episode? Virgo?
Oh. Oh gosh. Hold on.
I was thinking, just letting you know, I was thinking Friday. I was thinking about this, and Thursday.
Mhm.
I was very thinking of mine, and I had to conclude flippable phones at first. Because I was thinking of you, like what would you say? But you have something I would want.
Oh wait, wait. Okay, okay. I think. Okay. It's not necessarily bad, but I just wanted more from it. CMF
Mhm.
phone one.
Okay.
Cause I really do
Okay,
like.
fair.
I do like the right to repair thing, and I like how the phone's like. Considering how for its price you're able to have a removable battery and put it together. I like that aspect. What I wanted more from it was I get what it was marketing it as, but I would just wish it was more of a usable smartphone because it hits all the check marks of like what a phone should do at its like the minimal level.
Mhm.
But of course, $200 of a phone is more of like a side phone. Like you're not going to get this as your daily driver.
Yeah, yeah. I guess. Yeah, no,
Cause
fair.
I like color. I don't really.
Fair.
It's all right, you know. But the body of that phone, it's not necessarily appealing, but it's like what I'm able to do with the body is like really appealing because I'm able to unscrew the phone and like replace the parts. I do really like that idea. And of course, sure, there's that concern of like void warranty and right to repair. I mean, that's the whole point of the phone it's trying to advocate for. But I just wish we were it was um it's able to do more than what it's marketed as, but I understand what it's marketed as. So that's a caveat. It's a given.
Oh, that's true. It technically is not lying to you because it is what it's literally saying it's doing, but it doesn't look good enough to,
Yeah,
be like,
that's why
look,
the
guys.
principle is that this is like a phone, like a side phone or a experiment. Like experiment like for you that wants to get a phone and see how like you put quote unquote a smartphone together, stuff like that. But it's not enough to be or even last as your daily driver. So that's why I guess that would fit your question. So
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. That actually does satisfy it because like I'm thinking about it. I remember when I first heard about it, I thought this was the future. Like no lie, I was like, I'm gonna be able to pick up my own phone and whatever I want on it. Dude, that'd be so cool still today, now you think about it. But yeah, the body would be one. Like the body has to always be one.
mhm.
It makes no sense if it's pieces too. But fair, yeah, based on the body. Based on the body, yeah. I just oh man. I thought yours and I just thought your flip phone there. It just reminded me of the disappointment of excitement I had
I
for
mean the first phone, the first Samsung foldable, yeah, that's horrible, but I don't think it's really um a software issue. It was just really a hardware issue because I
yeah.
think the phone software wise it was great for what it was at that time. It's just it couldn't be used well because the hardware wouldn't last with it because but I mean it had
No,
to be
yeah.
like that in order for them to iterate on it. But yeah, I think for me that's just more of a hardware thing, and it was bound to like be like that just because it's the first of its kind. Whereas the
I
CMF
remember
phone, it's like it's been done
it
before,
is
like
legit
right
one
to
of its
repair,
kind.
but it's really done well. But of course, it's being marketed as like this is not really meant to be your daily driver, but it's more of just like to please the people, the consumers who've always been advocating for right to repair.
No, yeah.
So it's like a
I was gonna say,
really, really well done concept phone that is being sold and manufactured for
oh, okay.
consumers.
But it's not they're not like, okay, but you're gonna love it. No, you're
I
probably not
for
gonna
the
love
people
it.
who like love right to repair and like want that, they're going to love it, of course. But as for your general consumer, I don't think anyone would really love it, other than the fact of like, oh, it's really interesting how you can take the phone apart and put it back together, and you can replace the parts yourself. You know.
I mean, man, and I also put like the Nokia phone, the indestructible, how the body is something ugly, but it's
Mm.
like something really good. But I'm like, that wouldn't count because like I played, I don't know if you ever got the chance to see on them the old phones. I'm like, yeah, they were ugly, but they were also ugly when it came to like it's tech inside. So that can't count. That can count because it's ugly inside and outside, and it's kind of just straight up just to make phone calls. So
Mm.
it don't count. But like if I had like if the S series right now was like super sexy, but like uh the all the software sucks. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you just lied to me. You put like makeup on a pig. That's all you did, and then somehow I just got lied to. Like what happened? But okay, there. That's the question I have for you because I'm like I was thinking about it for a bit, like
Mm.
deeply, like to see what would make sense, and at the same time would be something like, oh yeah, legit did want that, but
Mm.
ended up being bad. So yours is better. So I'll give it that.
For sure, for sure. But yeah, with that, moving from
Mhm.
smartphones, we enter this realm that is called the quantum realm, and there's so many things to talk about. We can go quantum theory, we can go like quantum applications, quantum relevance, even. But for this one, we'll be specifically, in a way, revisiting the topic of quantum computing, but now
Mhm.
we're going to be diving more into like concepts of it or like how it just everything specifically pertaining to quantum computing and not necessarily involving AI in it. Because
Yeah,
last
yeah.
episode we did touch on, well, actually the past two episodes we did mention like like with TSMC, right? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
TSMC, and then we also involved like AI implementations with quantum computing, and so we touched a good amount of quantum computing, but not necessarily itself as an individual. So this is where, at least in my notes, I have some key concepts that because I also did a presentation on it before for my
Mhm.
class, my physics class before.
Yeah, you said
So
so. You said so.
I did revisit those, like my notes, and like just kind of adapted it a little bit. But I copy and pasted from last time we talked on quantum computing. Really briefly, we talked about IBM, like in their role as like in contributing to quantum computing research and commercial quantum processors. We talked about a little bit the collaboration with the government of the United States and how they want to maintain help in the leading the race of this global supremacy of AI as well.
It
Um,
is a
yeah,
race to
yeah,
be
it is a
fair.
race basically. Um, some real world applications like optimization problems, medicine and drug discoveries, cryptography, quantum encryption, comparison with their fellow competitors like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and in this case also China's trying to get a case, and how Taiwan's involvements in all of this
Mhm.
dynamic, geopolitical tensions, the dominant TSMC and the how they're so secretive of their processes there, especially that any of that information that gets out, whoever has that will gain the lead. So yeah, there's also other competitors and the impact of supply chains. um, that's basically a brief overview of what we talked about in those past episodes regarding quantum computing. But this time around I wanted to also revisit the topic, but in more specific, in case of we there are people who like have just heard of the concept, have heard of it with AI, but they actually don't know
Mhm.
what quantum computing is just for itself. Because I feel like everything nowadays has like AI with it, like, oh, quantum computing with AI or like supercomputing with AI, and I'm like, it's it's good with the relevant times, yes, but also to just kind of give a digestible version of what some concepts of quantum computing is and like how it works, and how should we react to it? Is it dangerous? Is it
No.
good? And yeah. So I have some key concepts here, and then you can feel free to
Yeah.
chime in and
Yeah.
talk when if and whenever you want to, Luis. But yeah.
Go for it.
So I have five. Sorry, not five. Oh no, I do. My bad. I just forgot to put a paragraph. That's why it looks like four. I have five concepts that are not like the most technical, but they are technical enough to give a good picture of what quantum computing is. So these five are ion traps, reading states, logic gates, quantum cryptography and QKD, quantum key distribution, and emerging technologies. So like other within that one topic of emerging technologies are smaller subtopics, but they're not super long. But yeah, those are the five. So quantum computing. There is. If, should I provide a brief description of quantum computing?
Yeah, yeah, do it. Or as much as you can. I feel like because I feel like the concept just to get the initial understanding of what quantum
Okay.
computing is.
So quantum computing is a field of computing that leverages the principles of quantum mechanics, quantum theory, quantum relevance. What those three terms essentially mean is that it takes physics to a different level, that you no longer are bound to the laws of physics because quantum just completely disregards the laws of physics.
Yeah.
So, like, if we were to say, for example, in math, everybody knows 1 plus 1 is 2. In quantum math or quantum mechanics, you can argue that 1 plus 1 can be 2 or something else because part of
Yeah.
the quantum is uncertainty. So there is no longer, like in calculus, for example, and mathematics. Calculus is the mathematics of uh, what is it? What is the opposite of of continuous values, which is why you have curved graphs going up and like with between the value of 0 and 1, you would think it's literally just a difference of one value. But in calculus, you learn that between the value of the whole number 0 and the whole number 1, there's actually an infinite number of values between 0 and 1. That's why calculus is the mathematics of continuous infinite values. Then you get to a point later, if you take higher maths, where you take a subject called discrete maths or discrete mathematics. It is basically the opposite of calculus. Discrete mathematics is the mathematics of finite finite values. So basically, between a 0 and a 1, there's no longer an infinite amount of values. You need to be very precise in getting 0 or 1. And how that gets into quantum is because binary digits are 0 and 1. Or binary digits are basically called bits. That's the amalgamation of it.
In quantum, one bit could be literally 0 and 1.
Yeah. So in the regular computing world, a binary digit will consist of 0 or 1. It can't be one or the other. It can't be both. It has to be either a 0 or a 1. In the quantum realm, just like Luis said, it can be both. In the quantum realm, you are breaking the laws and principles that you would normally have to adhere to. So going back to the brief definition of quantum computing, just to paint that context from math and like other sciences, the quantum computing uses quantum mechanics to process information in a ways that basically your smartphone, your classical computers, or supercomputers even can't. So again, going back to that idea of classical bits of 0 and 1, or binary digits, quantum bits can exist in what's called as superpositions. So basically, superpositions is existing in both states simultaneously. So if a bit can only be a 0 and a 1, a qubit can be both a 0 and a 1. So it's very fluid, basically. It's not just like it has to be one or the other. So this combined with quantum entanglement and interference, again, bigger terms, but essentially they are other principles from quantum theory and quantum mechanics that help quantum computers to solve certain complex problems that what would normally take a supercomputer a couple of days, a quantum computer can solve it in mere hours. So some of these include cryptography, optimization, and simulations. And in fact, simulations of quantum systems. So not just simulations of real world events. You have a quantum computer simulating quantum systems. So that becomes even more intricate.
Yeah.
So basically, quantum computing is a process that is much faster than classical or even supercomputers. Now, of course, with quantum computing, the technology is still in early stages. Well, not as early as it was years ago, but it's still somewhat in early stages. Some of the challenges are error correction and qubit stability. Part of that is it stems from keeping the temperature of the computer at a very precise temperature. And if I remember correctly in my notes, it has to be at like negative 23 millikelvin, which is like colder than the moon. So you have to keep a quantum and people think like, oh, you can maybe be 0.1 degree off or not. Like no. This is where error correction comes in. Like even the slightest like dissonance and disruption in temperature stability can affect a quantum computer's calculation, which is why the challenges of keeping quantum stability, qubit stability, and error correction stems from temperature, of keeping a quantum computer so cold that it's really hard to do that and to have a quantum computer be consistent with its calculations. For the most part, it hits it, but of course, there are disruptions such as like, if you have a power outage or like you have a voltage drop. So many other factors contribute to that where you can even get the slightest like temperature drop of like even let's say less than 0.1 of a temperature drop. It can still affect the calculations of a quantum computer. So that's why I still say it's in its early stages because maintaining it is an issue as well. But anyway, I digress. Back to the quantum concepts. So again, going to the 5 really quickly. Ion traps. Ion traps are devices that use electric and or magnetic fields. So a lot of you people who took physics, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Basically influx, you have your Biot-Savart laws essentially. They're used to confine charged particles or ions in space. Basically the ions that are trapped can be manipulated using laser pulses or laser pulses to encode and process quantum information. So in quantum computing, if I remember correctly, the ion traps serve as one of the most promising architectures because they have long coherence times and they have high fidelity gate operations, and Compared to common types of ion traps like Paul traps, which use oscillating, a lot of physics terms are about to be like relayed right now.
Yeah, no, no, I know.
Which
Man,
use Paul traps, which use oscillating electric fields, Penning traps, which use a combination of static electric and magnetic fields. Ion trap quantum computers, they leverage the natural quantum interactions between ions while still manipulating that to perform computations and execute quantum algorithms with high precision, while not necessarily being bound to your typical laws. Because again, when you're in the quantum realm, you no longer adhere to a lot of the laws anymore. You kind of break those laws. So those are ion traps in essence. Reading states are the second key concept. A quantum state of measurement is a fundamental challenge in quantum computing, and the reason why is because when you observe the collapse of a superposition, the goal is to extract the information from a qubit without disturbing the coherence unnecessarily. But the challenge of that already is the superposition of a qubit is collapsing. So to do that without disturbing is already hard because it is being disturbed already. So several techniques are used for quantum state readout, such as 1. Fluorescence detection. It's common in trapped ion systems. It's a method that uses laser-induced fluorescence rather, to distinguish between, like, let's say, a quantum state is 0, a quantum state is 1, and a quantum state is 0, 1. It's used to differentiate the states and not clump them up all together.
Yeah.
Number 2 is dispersive readout. It's used in superconducting qubits. They are basically where a quantum takes shift in the resonance frequency of a resonator or even coupled resonators, which it allows for indirect measurement essentially. Because the room to have indirect measurement is needed, because again, with quantum qubits, it's zero. It's not fine. It's not whole values all the time.
Fine.
It can be
Yeah,
both. So that's why you need to have some indirect measurements to allow for approximately equal to and stuff like that, because not all the time is it going to be necessarily equal to a whole value, or if you round up, because in physics you need to either get a whole number or you need to do round up based on the number of sig figs you have on the problem. So that's why you need some indirect measurements. The third one within reading states is quantum non-demolition, or Q&D measurement for short. It's a technique that measures a property of a quantum system without destroying the state. It preserves its coherence and its build for further operations. So that's basically saying, if I were to perform surgery on a qubit and you do the surgery really well, that you patch it up and like it's practically like no surgery was done at all, so you're able to perform more on it again and again. Yeah, so that's a really fascinating but also tough part of it too. You need to make sure you do it precisely, very precisely.
Very.
So the third thing is logic gates. Logic gates, especially quantum, they manipulate qubits. So a classical logic gate manipulates classical bits. In the quantum realm, quantum logic gates exploit superposition and entanglement to perform complex operations beyond like your typical classical supercomputer. So I'll give you some examples. Poly gates, basically your variables of capital X, Y, and Z. These are single qubit rotations around different axes on the block sphere, and block as in BLOCH. Number 2 is a Hadamard gate. It's in the capital H variable. It creates superposition, mapping absolute 0 to greater to absolute 0 plus absolute 1 over the square root 2. Really specific equation, but if you Google what a Hadamard gate is and you understand its application, it sounds like a lot, but it actually isn't. It deals a lot with just hashing out zeros and ones in a quantum bit. The processes and differentiating that is a lot, but the overview of it's not a lot really. Third is a CNOT gate, so all caps CNOT. It is a 2-qubit gate that flips the target qubit if the control qubit is in a state of absolute 1 or greater. So it's essential for entanglement. Number 4 is Toffoli gate, TOFFOLI. It is a 3-qubit gate. I actually don't know why it's called Toffoli, but okay. 3-qubit gate used in reversible computation for error correction. So basically, it's like if you were to on a math test, if you were to ask to check your work or give proof to check your work, that's what a Toffoli gate is. It's a 3-qubit gate, and it's used to check your work essentially. So basically, like if you're to show steps 1 through 8, it's like, okay, reverse the order and then check for any error in the proof itself as well. So that's the default gate. And then the phase gate
Oh.
is your capital S, capital T, and control dash capital Z states. Or sorry, variables, not states. These introduce specific phase shifts that are crucial for quantum algorithms. I won't go into more of that because it actually is a bit more complicated, but that's
Okay.
to keep it
Yeah.
short and simple. But
Okay.
basically, all of these five, in short, within logic gates they are required because they are a set of gates that are capable of constructing any quantum operation. They are essential because with them you have combinations of single qubit and 2 qubit and even 3 qubit gates that form the basic of most quantum algorithms. Without them, you're not going to solve a lot of the quantum problems.
No.
So that's 3.
Mhm.
4 is QC and QKD, quantum cryptography and quantum key distribution. Here we see a bit more of a personal application because we see it in text messages. Well, the most recent application is text messages with quantum encryption. So, and this is a more direct application as well, or explanation. So, quantum cryptography and quantum key distribution both exist because they are exploiting quantum mechanics principles to enhance security and communications. So, like for example, if you remember before RECS was implemented between Android and iOS, you normally don't
Yeah.
have read receipts, right? And on top of
That's
that, you
not.
also it was just SMS. So with that, I think the protocol, the encryption protocol was with SMS is so bad that if you got hacked, all of you can say goodbye to your
Oh.
information. Like all of it's leaked
Yeah.
already. Like a
Yeah.
small hack, all
Yeah.
of it's leaked. So so you can think of that as like a bit. Think of your text messages as your text message data as a bit. Let's say you are a 0 and a hacker is a 1. As long as the within the data service of whoever your carrier is realizes that you're the 0, your data's safe. But once a 1 comes in, like a hacker, your data is compromised. And
Yeah. That makes sense.
it well, not necessarily easy, but you're prone to get hacked because it's either you or someone else, like a bit, a 0 or a 1. With
Yeah.
RCS recent implementation of quantum encryption, you now it's now a lot harder for hackers to take your data because with qubits, since it's like very fluid, it can sometimes be both. It can be both a 0 and a 1. Now it's harder for hackers to become a 1 because with quantum, it's both. So it realizes that you as the user are both the 0 and the 1. So it's really hard for someone else to come as a different like
It
user.
replicate as one and
So your
zero at
data
the
is
same
a
time.
lot
Yeah.
more protected because of quantum encryption. Just like how a qubit works as a fluid 0 and 1 bit compared to your classical bit of 0 and 1. No longer will you have to necessarily. I'd still say it's possible to hack, but it's really like it's now 10 times harder for someone to get your
Yeah.
data to get compromised because of this. So this is basically the direct and the most relatable application you can see and visual application you can see of quantum key distribution and quantum cryptography. In short, I'll just share like 5 quick things about them, but really you can already see it implemented in your text messages. Number 1
Yeah.
is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. It's any eavesdropping attempt on a quantum channel disturbs the system. It reveals the presence of an attacker. So that's why with your quantum key distributions, if someone were to break and get into your data of text messages with quantum encryption, the cool thing about it is now you'll be alerted. Not only will you be alerted to a degree, but also the other servers and your uh, service carrier will be alerted as soon as possible. Whereas it would take like I have to track the data and like okay, I was not online on this time. I don't remember accessing this. Like you have to like backtrack and like realize
Backtrack
who's you and
everything.
who's not you. So this time
And
it's
that
like
if you
boom, you
see
have
it, you
an
got it correct.
immediate alert system. Like
Yeah.
boom, you know someone's different. The no cloning theorem is number 2. Any adversary or
Ooh.
hacker cannot copy an arbitrary unknown quantum state, preventing key duplication. So this is where quantum key distribution comes in because every user of every text message that you send, each person you text, you have a different key with each person. Like let's say if you have a different key to a different door, like that essentially,
Your
you
fingerprint.
have a unique key per person per
Yeah.
exchange with that person. It can't be copied. So even if you have the same phone and are able to access all your text messages, each person you text with is a different key. So
Yeah.
even if hypothetically a hacker were to access, like, let's say your phone or the data of your text messages, he or she would have to get all the other keys as well to access each individual text message you have with each person. So it's like basically a two-step factor authentication. Like this is like two-layered security right
Oh,
here.
man.
Yep. So the really quick popular protocols of quantum key distribution. There's just a lot of numbers and variables, so it's okay if you don't get it. For anyone listening, it's fine.
Please.
BB84 protocol, it uses randomly chosen polarization states to encode bits, so it ensures that any interception disturbs the system. So basically, even the slightest change or difference in your history of logging in and like data consumption and whatnot, it'll notice that right away. E91 protocol relies on entangled particles to generate correlated outcomes, ensuring secure key sharing. E91 protocol is essentially what I was referring to when you as the user have access to all your text message histories and how each individual has a different quantum key. So that protocol helps you like it helps you and your service provider know that you're you rather than like a hacker. And then continuous variable QKD uses properties of quantum optics such as squeeze states to encode information, which in short, they're just helpful. Well, not just, but they are very helpful to prevent unbreakable security. Because in theory, quantum is it's impossible to break through, but of course the limitations of applied quantum like key distribution and quantum cryptography is based on your service carriers, the implementation of an app, etc. That's the real limitation. It's not quantum theory itself, it's the devices and server hosts that are implementing it. Those are the real
That's
limitations.
limitation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what. Okay.
Yeah. And then lastly but not the least is emerging technologies. I'll just mention the three and you can feel free to Google them yourselves. Number one is topological qubits. Number two is quantum annealing. Annealing is ANNEALING. And then number three is hybrid quantum classical systems. In short, all of these three are very helpful because they have and they continue to represent significant strides to making quantum computing more practical, more stable, more ethical, and more applicable to a wider range of sciences, departments, and industries. So those three are very important. Sorry, I just realized I gave like my presentation essentially
No.
from
I'm saying
physics.
no. You told me last time, and this is for anybody else to read. You were, I think it was like 3, 4 in the morning, and I was trying to get the actual like your presentation. I still remember. That's why I'm like smiling. I'm like, you weren't telling me the whole thing. So I'm like now actually like, and geeking out, but also understands like, okay, so I'm getting more of what I actually asked way before. But I understood it was like 3, 4 in the morning. So I'm like, you can't be awake telling me that. It's not fair. Yeah, I don't want to stop you.
Wait, no, that's pretty much what I have. This is everything I have in a concise format to explain the at least 5 key concepts of quantum computing, which again are ion states, reading states, logic gates, quantum cryptography, and quantum key distribution, and emerging technologies. Those are the 5 key concepts. Of course, you can go down the rabbit hole, and if you are in higher upper division physics and mathematics, you know there's more to this than what I provided from the 5. But I do think strongly these are more than enough to like give your average Joe or like non-STEM like person to get a good idea of what quantum computing is.
I would say more. I would say a little bit more. Oh yeah. Oh, there's so much to dive into. But
Yeah, is there anything
you
you
are
want
right
to
when
add, Luis, with quantum computing?
no,
Or at least quantum theory,
I
if
would.
anything?
I feel like you got more of the science side of actual quantum,
Mm.
because people can understand that it's not just science. Because I think that's a misconception. that quantum is just physics, but
Oh, it's not
complex or
just.
on
It's just
steroids?
it bases itself a lot on physics, and it derives a lot from physics because it's also breaking laws of physics. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, quantum is not just
It,
limited to quantum physics. Like you literally have quantum theory, quantum relativity, which is now like quantum relativity. You have a mix of calculus and other mathematics. It's no longer just physics. So,
no, like this quantum is adding like both. You know how they always say like what comes first, science or math? It's like
mm-hmm,
no, this is like adding both, and this has to play with both.
mm-hmm,
Um, I know there's sometimes in the math aspect where it's like infinite numbers or like numbers that are so precise to the point that like you said, 1 plus 1 can be 2 in normal sense, but 1 plus 1 can question mark also add, right? You
mm-hmm,
can leave and it's not gonna be just 2. Um, and I think that's also the understanding where people like have to kind of let it go where it's like no, it's not gonna just be like simplified math.
mm-hmm.
Um, in the physics, oh my goodness, like how many, pretty much almost all the laws are broken. To be fair,
Yeah.
um, it's like it's considered like a 4D kind of aspect now we're dealing with, um, other than just normal 3D that we're dealing with right now.
Mm-hmm.
If man, I'm sorry, I'm also trying to like think. Because yours was the physics side, or science side, that people would say more than just physics. I'm trying to add like any the math. The math is what makes it the most impossible part. Because we also, um, if anything, also touching on, um, this has to be so precise. Like when you were talking about hacking, like it is almost impossible. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
unless the hacker had a quantum computer on
Yeah.
its
So
end.
really, it becomes
It's a,
more realistic and feasible to hack, but it's not quantum itself. It's more of limitations of devices, limitations of servers,
Mhm.
limitations of applications. Those are what make it a little bit more possible still to hack. But yeah, in theory, with quantum, in the quantum realm, it should be. It is not even should be. It is impossible to. But of course, we are limited to what we are able to output with the current technology and hardware and software too. So that those are the real,
And
those are our real enemies.
I mean, I don't think we're there yet. I feel like the more I've seen where like just let's just say quantum computing itself, because I think I feel like that'll be the first thing to come in to be practical for people to actually understand. I'm taking this as like the internet. You know
Mm,
how there was an internet, but like how did people get their hands on it at first?
mm,
So it's like right now we're still in the phase where it's still being played with, but we don't have any device to like actually access it. It's feasible. So hardware is the limit. Like really it is. Um but as of right now, yeah, like you said, like it's impossible to hack. Not because of the hardware. It's
mm,
it doesn't allow you. There's no such thing as changing numbers around. It has to be as precise as it just has to be. There's
mm,
no such thing as it can change to 1 and then that's completely fine. No.
mm.
Um not states. What was it also? I'm trying to remember all this because you gave so much. No,
Sorry.
it's not bad. No, it's not bad. I'm just trying to like cut it down because I know there's gonna be so many questions on it. Because when you say quantum, everybody thinks of just quantum physics, and there is more to break down than that. Um, let's see what in the physics world too. When we say breaking actual like the laws of it, we're not saying like oh there's no structure to it too as well.
Mm,
Like there is kind of itself like instead of bit it can be 1 and 0 at the same time, or it
mm,
can be just one, but it can also be. I know there's a possibility um two at the same time. But it's like such a fast equation that it processes through it
mm,
that it cannot. That when once somebody tries to go back to it and see what it was before, I know that it cannot be checked. Like it's like you were saying, like show me your homework. Like all those bits have to be shown to like that little wiggle room to see okay what it was for that one qubit to actually have been before.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying to like process it right. Like I don't want to word it wrong for people. Um, but you know I'll get back to mine. I'm still thinking on it on my end, but that wasn't bad though. I would say that. For this one, what a physics class? What kind of physics class was this one?
Yeah. This for this physics class, it was on electromagnetism, and the presentation was more of a project that my
Mhm.
professor had us do to um, help us, aside from learning the material, to branch out and see what the like what physics is currently today. And the
Mhm.
prompt was to choose a topic that is physics related, but it has to be very specific. So you can't just choose like quantum computing.
Mm.
For mine, I chose
Yeah.
quantum computing, specifically IBM's contribution and how they're leading the way for the US. So it has to be
Mm.
very specific. I know another classmate spoke on what was it? So another classmate spoke on uh, ChatGPT and the ethical use of Google search engines and transformer models. Another
So,
classmate
oh,
spoke on
mhm.
what is it? What was the other one? I forget because this was like a couple semesters ago. There was one more that caught my attention. Oh yeah, there was one where uh, that spoke specifically on quantum cryptography and quantum key distribution, and went on the math side and the physics like science side, like explaining like
Yeah.
how we got this equation, or why we got this equation from linear algebra or like calculus 3, or like multivariable calculus, and then why we got this from differential equations and why this needed to be implemented and derived from it to use in physics so that we
Mm.
get to this equation in quantum theory and quantum cryptography, so that this also kind of breaks the law of physics, but it's possible only because of the quantum. That's it. Yeah,
So kind of like what led to it.
speaking on the math side, just
Mhm.
briefly, um, I didn't speak much on the math side because one, I did this presentation like a couple semesters ago before I took the
Yeah.
higher maths, like the more theoretical maths. And but two, also in those theoretical math classes I took later on, and like I'm in discrete math right now too. Um,
Mm.
it it's the quantum physics isn't mentioned much, or even quantum theory isn't mentioned much.
Yeah.
It's just briefly
Yeah.
mentioned here and there, but it's not like it's not heavily emphasized as it is in physics. Not saying that's a bad thing. It's just that's my experience, and so
Mm.
that's why I emphasize more on the physics side. But to at least mention a little bit on the math side, you take some concepts of math from Hilbert spaces, linear algebra, differential equations, discrete mathematics, probability theory, and group theory, which all carry at least a couple of algorithms and equations that are derived from, that the quantum theory derives from, and then they contribute to breaking the laws, to contribute to why the laws are broken in quantum theory, and how they are used in speeding up complex problems to be solved, essentially. Three things or two things are like factoring and optimization. Well, I guess the third thing is secure communication too, because probability theory and group theory are, um, for the current day and age, they are a relevant issue. So I say those three. But yeah, like
Uh,
linear
we're-
algebra. One last thing, linear algebra. Like going back to phones a little bit, when you have your touchscreen is actually linear algebra. Oh, my camera just moved. But anyway, linear algebra. So in a matrix of 9 digits, you're gonna have like 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. So basically, you can think of it again as bits. The one value will come up when it reads a position that your finger places on the screen. So like imagine like this is the top row is 0 0 0, middle is 0 0 0, bottom is 0 0 0. If I place my finger in the middle digit will show as 1. 1 1 1 1 1 1 1.
Mhm.
Very simplistic illustration of linear algebra in your touchscreens, but that is a very stripped down version of how it's also used in quantum computing. But you were saying, Luis?
No, actually, what's going on? I was trying to also mention the practicality. I'm not that like so for for that for just for your presentations. You said that somebody like what the ethics of it.
Yeah.
What were
So,
they like touching
one of
on
my
that?
classmates talked about in their presentation, the use of ChatGPT, the ethics of ChatGPT, and the like the cost of the cost of Google search engines and AI transformer models. That's his specific. That was his specific topic for his physics presentation.
Oh, like oh, that counts. Like I guess yeah, like, it could
It
fair
counts
because
because
I
it does include quantum. Well, I mean, not necessarily quantum, but it is physics related because you are part of the presentation is not necessarily theoretical. It has to be practical too. And in this case, with AI being like a huge thing, a lot of it is still talked about within the STEM field. Like even if you're not physics, like you are, like even if you're not in STEM, AI you've heard of for sure. Like maybe it just the label AI, but like obviously everybody's heard of AI. But if you
hmm,
really look at ChatGPT, for example, or like transformer models, there are some physics involved. Not perhaps as explicit as like quantum computing, for example, but there are. It has its DNA there.
so it's just as long as I had the fingerprints of it, it would count.
Yeah, because you still need to present it as um having concepts that are also related to what we were learning from the material in the class. So as like it doesn't have to be super heavy on the equations, for example, or the principles. It mainly has to be in something you're interested in, but also just keep it like have a couple of points or make a connection of how it relates to the class as well.
Okay. That okay, that makes sense. I'm like, wait, how would it? How do you have to completely have it instead of just a few points, or go back to it at least a little bit to make sense?
Oh, trust me, if that
Okay, I
was
was
a
like, how?
prompt, then I'm like, oh, I got nothing. It's so
Oh my
tough.
god!
That's so tough.
I was like, how can you completely just go at it? Or, man, yeah, no, heck no. Never mind. Okay, so you could just do dabs and it still counts. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah.
Um,
That's it. That's all I have really on quantum computing. I know I can go a lot longer, but obviously with the concise information I had already, it took longer than I thought it would. But I mean,
no,
that
no,
just
no.
goes to show like even simple mathematics and physics, there's a lot to talk about. So all the more quantum
Is
computing
it
is like a lot.
is it simple? Let's be honest.
It's
Like,
not. It's
I
really
I
not. It's really not.
I would tell anybody that's scared of physics, the math, because it is. I guess I say math because it's not the typical math. It has some. It is math, but it's if you just do simple like algebra, you're you're focusing on so much number, but here more in physics are more theories and more equations. Yes, math has equations, but not all of it is equations. I
Mhm.
think physics is heavy equations. Taking the classes, so it's not scary. It's just repetitive. I would say.
I agree.
You have more experience, obviously, but I from my experience, it was so repetitive, but yet so easy. You know, if that makes sense.
I think
Just takes
yeah,
time
I
for
see
one
where you're coming
equation.
from.
Yeah, for one equation, have a whole page almost sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
And double check that you got, and then when you had like, oh, you got it wrong, so you had to double check, and you're like, oh dang it, I have to check this whole page or half this page to see. Are you that kind of person that will double check or just do it again? By like get a new piece of paper and just do it again.
I think it depends on the problem, but generally I would check it first before doing it again.
It sounds like
I'd say maybe
that was a thing.
maybe in like the lower math class, like in calculus 1 and 2, I would um just do it on a different piece of paper, because I'm like some of them are long, but like I was like fine with redoing it from scratch just to see if it would change my how I get to the answer. But with like
Mm.
the with the, all these higher math and physics classes now, it's like nah, I really need to check, because I really don't, as much as possible, don't want to rewrite
Dang.
everything because it's long.
Dang.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. No, that's not fair. I mean, yeah, and there's so many aspects of how this can be taken. I wish, man, I want to take a physics class just after hearing this. I'm gonna go back because I did take some notes too while you were doing your presentation. Because I know some, but I want to know more on just the aspects of what, not just where it can be implemented. Obviously, ChatGPT. That's
Hmm.
not just AI, because IBM doesn't use just AI, and that's it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so just letting people know, ChatGPT is not the limit, and quantum physics itself, it's not just for AI. It's an implementation of it. Yeah, it's like, oh, let's use it for that. I think IBM is trying to also just get computing, just like itself, computing to first. I think its goal is to do download and then upload for what how much you can download, how much you can upload, and that itself because that's going to determine how much cooling it needs for both.
Mm.
Like, because to be fair, our phones, our computers do both, yes, but the temperature changes depending on what you do. So upload and download are different. But I'm like, I want to know how much equation is being processed when upload and download,
Mm.
and why. So that's another wormhole we can go into um, later on, I believe, because the more information I can give, the more I can be precise on it.
Mm.
For our peers out there. Um, yeah, because there's so I think we have to revisit this one. Of course, just to let you know, we also are gamers, so we're nerds on that too. Hopefully, maybe quantum physics somehow plays, not just with AI but with games. Um, Man, later on you can start talking to Tifa, maybe like
Oh
in
my
person.
gosh.
No, I'm just no for you. We all know who you are.
I'm Cloud.
No, but we have to say that. Yeah, no, in real time, No.
I am both Cloud and
I would say yeah.
Sephiroth. I am practicing super precision right now. I'm
Can you
just
be
kidding.
scammed? Can you be scanned into the game and make your own character?
That's
The
crazy.
processing. The
I know
processing to
they would
scan.
take so many. It's like so many cameras around you just to get a
Yeah,
detailed
to make a
scan of you.
character of you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, like I've seen that where not just I forgot what the scanner was, like the model and everything, but it's being like on like as it was scanning on making a model of the person, but it was the quantum computer that was making like the practicality and the details compared to like what a normal computer would do.
Mm.
My goodness, like I could see where that could be used for medical reasons, but also for like just 3D modeling itself. That was cool to see. Because like it was also doing it for like how like for somebody's face structure. So it's scanning its face and making slight details and changes at the same time.
Mm.
Um, but I'm like, if we can 3D model that fast, that'd be definitely for games. But I that's for the future. That's too far, I believe,
Mm.
for us to do. Even though it's being done now, it's still practical, but later on. But yeah, that's what I add. I'm gonna go through this one and definitely take more detailed notes, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
For
from
sure.
your presentation. So thank you.
Well, thank
You
you.
finally told me. Finally told me. It still makes sense. 3, 4 in the morning, you can't go that much detail. I was geeking out, guys. I was. Got to preview this one before. But,
But yeah,
but yeah.
regarding uh quantum, Luis, and how things are not
Oh.
discrete, I want to move to a different topic where it revolves around our
Okay.
eyes.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
there's this there's there seems to not necessarily be a clear answer on online, at least, where some people would believe that with the human eye, they can perceive a frame rate of
Mm.
60 per seconds always, regarded, like, no matter if you're tired or you're really hyperactive, 60
Mhm.
locked at 60 all the time. There's another side that claims like it's dynamic. Sometimes it's when you're sleepy, your frame rate perception is lowered, and when you're hyperactive, it sometimes can go up to 250 to 500 frames depending on what you're doing. And then there's another side where it's just like, nah, we all the it's a dynamic.
Morning.
It's dynamic as well, but it's not dependent on what you're doing, but rather of how much light and motion you are perceiving that affects the frame rate. So not necessarily what you're doing,
Oh.
but what
What?
others are doing, like what other factors you're receiving for that information. So it's
Hmm.
very interesting, at least from my side of research. But this time, I want to give you the floor first, Luis, to share what your thoughts are on it, what you got, regarding information about it,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
what your take on it is, because the frame rate perception of human eye is interesting.
Oh, having dabbled into like the eye aspect, because I had somebody where I had to deal with their condition and like learn. I just wanted to learn everything about the eye. So, like the retina, the actual nerves the blood vessels, the nerves that actually perceive and distribute to the brain. How fast the brain, does it affect that our distance from the brain to the eye? How fast is it? Like not many people know, but what gives us the vision is not the eye itself, but the lens in the eye. Because if you take the lens out of the eye, you're blind. It's like I would to anybody. It's like imagine taking off your glasses. If you're like really really blind and you take off your glasses, like that's the lens, right? The lenses are the thing that give you the actual, well, they're the that perceive the actual light to your retina, the back of your retina, and you can see it, and then boom, you have an image. Um, Man. So with that, like I don't think we're clocked in at the same. I don't believe that. Because again, disformities for everybody, for anybody, we can be. I don't think we're like the size of the eyeball matters because it depends on that. Gets you your size of your actual retina, the size of your lens. So, and then that affects how much light your eye takes in and does not take in. Um, so the constant here is light. Obviously, we're all going to constantly get the same. Um, how much we take in, that's affected by our eye. Okay, let's say me and you were next to each other and looking at horses running with the wind hitting 30 miles while they're running. So we see their hair moving differently. I think we would perceive it not the same. Um, Even though we might be in the same position, seem at the same angle, um, just because maybe you're like 1 inch further than me or behind me, um, how the wind is hitting you, what angle you're at hitting the sun,
Mm.
and or maybe I'm covering you if I'm on your right or your left where the sun is at. So I'm reducing light from you from those because it hits the horses first and then it reflects to us. But light is like a laser. It has an angle, so where is it gonna go? Oh wait, you're a little bit skewed compared to this guy. You're gonna get it first before him, and
Oh.
this amount of light to you because you're not skewed compared to this guy, so you'll receive more than them, and that itself will get the retina going and be like, okay, both our retinas will get the light, yes, but at different paces, and now our brains have to actually get all that information. So, like you were saying, like we're clocked at the same. I don't think so. Just depending, I think it's highly dependent on where we, how are we positioned, right, and what are the movements, um, and also depending on our size of our eyeball, because then that changes all the game of it. And we don't we can't measure. Well, we can, but we don't all go to like, what's the size of your eyeball? Is it a size 9 or 7? Like we can't do that. Like our like our shoes, but I think some. So I'm not saying some can pot like maybe somehow your twin is the same size as you, same dimension as you. Like I think that might be able to. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but unlikely. Very, very, very unlikely. There's those odd occasions like, oh yeah, you guys are definitely getting at the same rate. Fine, fair, cool. But like just like we have refresh rates differently in different screens, I think we also do have in humans, where we're all different in a slight way. But we get the gist of it, not maybe the same. Maybe even I'll even understand. I even would say this. Even some eyeballs for some people might be bigger than the other, just like the ears of others are bigger than the other. Like same person, but right ear is bigger than left ear. Very slight difference on the eyeball size can do such great changes on it, from what I've learned. And so even our frame rate on one eye to the other could be effective. I believe so. Just knowing that. But I don't want to take all of it, your input, if you have any on that, Joseph.
I'd say, okay, so first off, I'm in the same boat as you, where I don't believe that our eyes are locked at a frame rate that it just never changes. It just is constant the whole time. I don't believe that it's like locked at 60, locked at 45, locked at whatever that case may be. I do believe it is dynamic. I don't want to rule out that what we're doing can affect our perception of a frame rate, but I'm for sure strongly agreeing with the factors of like how much light we perceive and how much motion we perceive affects our frame rate in terms of perception. Because sometimes, like if we're used to fast motion, then theoretically we're used to seeing high frame rates. But if we're used to like slower motion, then you're used to like slower frame rates. At least I'm in my head, that's what I was thinking of. And then a thought in my head came up where you mentioned too before, like sometime on call, where like, what if people are actually used to seeing higher frame rates because the eye was trained to see those, like that you just got so used to it that you now are able to see those, like the trained eye has an eye for the certain things. So like maybe if you just get so used to seeing it day in day out, or you are trained and accustomed to it, that you in a way technically buff yourself, I guess, to seeing a higher frame rate. I guess it technically is a buff because you are learning like how to perceive higher motion and faster motion. But I also know that hold on, because regarding the eye, yeah, I didn't go too much on like the perception of eye and like motion, but just to keep it like logical and sensible, like if you are used to seeing higher motion, then like you are getting accustomed to higher frames, and if it's slower motion, then you are more comfortable in like lower frame rates.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of adapt to what we have. Like, yeah, I remember this with me and my brother. I remember 360 was like completely fine for me. Like I had no problem watching 360 content. Like this looked the same, no problem. But to him, 1080 was like the best. Like that's it. That's all he could. And for him, 360 was like the worst. Like he didn't even watch it. He's like that. he just instantly knew. And I'm just like, how can you know?
Hmm.
And I do remember because he was like, I'm appalled to watch that. I was like, really? It's like, it just hurts my eyes. Like he would emphasize it. It's just that it's not hurting his eyes, but it's bothering him enough to know it's like this is not the best. There is better. And when I saw 1080, I was like, whoa, there is a big difference. But to him, like 360 was just too bad, if that makes sense. Like
Hmm.
there is that such thing as like I can't go back to like lower frames, like it'll hurt you. Like um like we can see this in phones, like when people like use high refresh rate phones and then go back to the lower ones, they notice it instantly how bad it is. Maybe like iPhone to like Samsung, like they can see it. I remember it took a bit when I was like, there's no difference, or like, oh wait, no, there is a big difference. Like, never
Hmm.
mind. I guess yeah, trained eye, that's where it becomes not an issue, but like you can just realize, okay, I'm giving myself a buff because I know that this is like wrong. This is not right. And like my brother, like, no, I like only the high quality, and that's all I can notice. It for me, 1080 was like what? Like what? Like what's this new world you just hid for me? Um, so I think yeah, we can also give ourselves buffs without realizing it. And the real world, I would say that would be more of our like kind of hardware aspect, our ourselves.
Hmm.
But we're not clocked in. I don't think we're still clocked in at one.
I will add on that regarding the eye. Um,
Mm,
I think people also forget that what you see with your eyes is just one part of it. What I'm getting at is people forget to understand like an important thing to highlight here on this topic too is that we have optic nerves, right? We all do as humans. So the
yeah.
optic nerve utilizes I'm gonna keep it to STEM terms. Coding. It essentially it combines multiple. It's the combination of multiple neurons, right, that contribute to a signal. So in our optic nerves, when we perceive something, it helps us to detect shape, light, and motion.
Mm,
So um, our eyes basically like employ a firing pattern, and it allows for if you have cameras that use high dynamic range, it fires a similar pattern to it. Um, and actually, we have a higher dynamic range than what people think we have. You know, if you were to compare it to a camera, we actually have a not necessarily a higher dynamic range than a camera, but our HDR for our eyes is actually higher than what we think it could be, or what we think it'd be. Um, Regarding human vision and like perception, even it's a challenge because like you said, each individual human being, like the size of the eyeball matters, and like also how people perceive different motion differently. That's also a thing. How much
that's true.
eyes get into your
That's
light are a
true.
different factor, and also, in a way, we have content aware fill as well. In a sense, we do. Sorry, content aware fill for all you Photoshop like nerds out there.
Oh.
But yeah, what I'm getting at is that because perception from the eyes or visual perception is not just dependent on our human eyes, but it's also on our optic nerves, which is the signal processing, because the
Mhm.
signal processing helps us put that image together. Because it's like with our eyes, all I'm seeing like right now on my screen is one video feed and another video feed. And then the optic nerve tells me, okay, this is a person, this is a person. Then in my brain, I'm like, oh, this is me, and then this is you, Luis, right? Because if it's just limited to
Mhm.
the eye, it's just like, I just see two things. What is this supposed to be, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
optical, signal processing and the optical nerve is important, as well as your occipital lobe. I believe that's how you
It's
pronounce
low,
it.
which is front.
Yeah, which is the front,
Occipital.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The front. Yeah.
So your eye, your optic nerve, and your occipital lobe, all three of those things actually contribute to forming a cohesive image, or cohesive output of what you are seeing. At least, or not output. You are inputting, you're receiving that information, and then you're in a way outputting it internally to like internalize. Oh, this is what I'm seeing. So all three of those things actually contribute to that. That's where I kind of did my research a little bit more. I was like, is it just
Mm-hmm.
the eye that perceives information, or is there
Oh,
also our nerves, like our optic nerves? Is there anything else in the brain that contributes to helping us conclude to what the image we're seeing is what it is, or if the what we're seeing is fake? You know, because all the eye is seeing is literally anything. You don't know if it's real or not.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
I
So
mean, I to add to that, I would say, and like again, I know I touched on this light, 360,000 miles per second. Okay, so it has to reflect on that material. Material reflects differently. Every single material, it goes, on its own wavelength,
mhm,
but light goes constant. And thankfully, we have our neurons shoot electricity. They don't
mhm,
shoot just like gel or something. So electricity, again, constant because electricity equals to light.
mhm,
So it's 360. So I would say not just that. It's literally our hardware. Light is going so fast constantly, but we have to be able to process it as constant. That's why I know some people it's not that they have blurry vision, is that they're either one of their eyes has it's just bad hardware, so the light can't go as smooth as it wants
mhm.
to go through every single aspect. Not the brain. It could be the brain, it could be the lens, it could be the retina, it could be any receptor that's just like blocking the light for going smooth.
Yeah, we all have
So
different
again,
sensitivity as well. Yeah, you're right.
so yeah, so that too, I want to add that.
Yeah, because
And
oh, one other thing too, just really quick, like people, like regarding like monitors and displays that have refresh rates, right? Obviously, like there's three ways you can look at this, and of course, there's so many technical things you can go into, but like, uh, uh one case is like seeing 60 frames on a 60 hertz monitor, and then 60 frames on a
mm,
like 20 or one a 240 hertz monitor. They are both rendering at 60 hertz, but the 60 frame, the game running at 60 frames is going to look a little smoother on a 240 hertz monitor than a 60 hertz monitor.
yeah,
And partially the
yeah,
reason why is because of how many images the monitor is outputting. Because since it's outputting, in the case of the 240 hertz monitor, since it's outputting more than 60, it's able to kind of in a way smooth the frames better, and it seems smoother, but it's actually still rendering the same amount of frames in game, which is why if you play like a
that's
lot of
true.
shooter games
That's
on your
true.
PC, if you keep it uncapped, like you'll notice like 60 frames, like if even if you're playing 144 hertz on a 60 hertz monitor, 144 frames on a 60 hertz monitor, it becomes a little smoother because you're uncapped. So there, uncapped plays a and dynamic FPS plays a factor too. But that's case one. Case two
Hmm.
is um playing two for like get high for refresh rate games, but also the animations of the movements.
That too.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes things will look smooth, sometimes things will look choppy, and they may be intentional or not. Sometimes it's intentional for this stylistic choice, and sometimes it's just some developer forgot to add an extra keyframe to like smoothen out the animation and just looks horrendous. So that's case two.
No call. Yeah.
Animation is dependent on each game as well. So like even if the game is running at like 60 frames per second, for example, not every in-game character has different movements. Everything is different. So
That's true.
sometimes things will look really jagged, and it may be intentional for the character and the style of that character, or it's just a bug, or it forgot to patch something. Those are some examples, but that's case number two. And then you have case number three, where
Oh, which
you
one?
get a high refresh rate monitor, right? And let's say you get 240 hertz or 360 hertz for some weird reason you have the money to
Oh,
shell out and
yeah.
throw on a 360
Yeah, I
hertz
know. I was
monitor.
gonna say it's expensive, but okay.
The higher refresh rate becomes diminishing returns. More so in monitors and displays, and less on the actual human eye, because there's only so much we can process in our nerves and our brains to consider what is motion and how smooth motion is. because we as humans have limits. So there's at a point in
Mm.
our eyes, in our perception, we're gonna be like, I can't tell the difference anymore between 300 frames per second and 500 frames per second, for example. I personally have never seen that, but I'm just saying, even if it's in a hypothetical situation, right? There is diminishing returns the higher you go, because even in your phones, even in your phone, for example, the jump between 30 to 60 frames is, there's a huge difference in seeing that frame rate difference. Then you jump to 60 to 120, that there's still a difference, but it's not as big as 30 to 60. And then you jump 120 to 240, 240 to 360. It becomes less and less and less of a big difference. So I do believe human eyes can see up to, who knows? Maybe we can see up to 500. We can probably see up to
Yeah.
500 frames. Will you notice the 500 frames, for example? Maybe not.
That's where,
Maybe not.
yeah, that's where I'm saying that's where the noticeable. I think that's where motion is, but like that's the argument of 4K. Why would you get an 8K monitor where a 4K monitor is like the cap? There could be some room between 4 and 8,
Mhm.
but I think there is a cap eventually when it comes to how much notice you can get.
Mhm.
Because like, to be fair, if anything, if you're looking to a blank wall right now, it's gonna be this. It's just capped, right? Because the blank
Yeah.
wall is not gonna be more
It's
refreshing.
literally
It's just
moving at
that's how much
0 frames a second. It's
yeah,
not
no,
moving.
but like the detail, you're gonna like, oh wait, I can see that one bug or that little
Oh yeah,
crack. Like
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
gonna see that.
No, but wait, you
Like that's
didn't you
motion.
didn't use the right bitrate to encode it. I can't see the bug.
Okay. He's like, where's the creator? What did he make me? Let me see. You messed up on this part. No, like, I'm saying like there's like I think motion's where it caps us, where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we can see so much motion to the point like we can't see that little tiny little detail that's that frame. But
Yeah.
like for the human eye though, there there could be a cap on the motion or the detail, but the motion we can process it. It just depends on every single type of person. Maybe their
Mhm.
disability on something, maybe they are the angles they're doing, maybe the lighting they're using. It is there is so much aspects or parts to it before it hits your eye, and even the cloudy weather, that's how we like light can't penetrate all the way through, so that's why you see fog, but it's not that much fog. You're just seeing water particles in the air of a cloud. So it's like the it's also our limitation of it. There's
Mhm.
constants, which is always light because it's always going to be there, unless you turn off the light, okay, for anybody. But constant daytime. The other HSB are where we are, our environment. That's what we're capping. And when it comes to monitors, let's say same monitors, same refresh rate. It's just gonna be the motion to where we're gonna notice like, oh, we can't notice that one little move at that point, and it caps us because again,
Mhm.
we can't see every single spec. And I don't know if you ever gone to like a monitor purposely to see the pixels. Like, let me see how many pixels I can count here. It's like it's so minuscule to the point, the human eye can't see that. It's like if at that we could just be like, oh, we can see atoms too now. It's like no, there's that zoom. I guess you could say we are capped at zoom because we can't see the finest detail. But that's motion. That's the constant motion that every atom is moving right now as we speak.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I see.
But yeah, that's what I would say about it. I guess a cap, but that's the zoom, the
Yeah.
motion of things. Because again, things are still moving constantly, and we just can't see that motion because it's so tiny detailed.
Mm.
For anybody that fights over 4K, 8K, still, I prefer 8K, but
Yeah.
I don't think there'll be
I
difference.
will say, um, just to touch a little bit more just on resolution. I think for the human
Mm.
eye, I think we can see up to potentially 24K, but again, we probably won't notice the difference.
We won't like I guess it'll be one of the I mean we probably can't we can't see it. Yes, we can see it, but like
I think
will we notice it?
we are seeing it, but yeah, to notice it is a different thing. I think for
Yeah,
sure we
that's
are
true.
seeing it like real time, like we could probably have a dynamic range of 8K to 6. It can range from 24 drop to 8, 16 drop to 4, something like that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
And same
I
thing with
think we're.
the frame
Yeah,
rate. I think for sure we are seeing those like frame rates and resolutions, those megapixels. Well, megapixels just to keep it consistent with cameras,
yeah, yeah.
but resolution, yeah, I do believe we can see that. Will we notice it?
It's
I think it's harder to notice it when it gets higher. Like to actually also
yeah. I don't.
indicate to someone, I think what I'm seeing right now, the plane in the sky is in 8K resolution with 50x optical zoom. When your eye
No,
can't
like
even zoom in, bro.
you can't zoom into that much. Like, I would say, like right now we're shifting. Like me and you, we go out. You know, this is a bright day again. Like it's right now. It's what 8:51. So fine, it's gonna be nighttime. We're not gonna see that much light. But fair. Let's say it's bright in the morning. I think our resolution's shifting, right? From
Hmm.
far to near to mid. Like we're shifting all the time. But if it was a constant, we're not gonna like notice it. Where if it was like constant 24K, we're not. We don't even. I don't think we notice the shift. Like unless we put like stuff right up against our faces, we'll notice the resolution shift. You know, like oh, like wait, that's
Be like,
so close.
oh,
Like
this bug has 4K textures. That's crazy.
there we go. So I think we're two. It's two different things: resolution, and then just also having that constant of shifts. So yeah, like we have to. Our zooming is our problem. Like I would say, some people are, good nearsighted, some are farsighted. You know, that's our, I guess, our crutch for the human eye.
Mm.
But um, we'll still have. I think we still have the dynamic range, even though I can only see, like, let's see, I can only see things close really good compared to far. I still will experience the 24 or the 8 or 4 to 24K kind of experience in different formats with my eyes. Compared to you, you might be like, I can't see near, but I can see far. But I
Mm.
get all those dynamic resolutions in some way from a far distance too.
I agree.
Yeah. The monitors, man. I think we eventually cap at like if okay 24. You're gonna tell I'm like okay in Marvel Rivals, tell me exactly what color is Spider-Man using right now for his underwear. Tell me from afar, like no, you're not gonna be able to tell me that he's moving too fast for you
John
to
David
even.
got an answer for that.
Or like I see the color red in his drawers right there. No,
Nah,
you
John will
know.
probably say like he's got none on.
but but there is I guess we do notice there's two aspects to the human eye, right? The
Yeah.
motion and the resolution. Because if you're refreshing so fast to the point maybe my brain can just not take it
Yep.
all in right away.
Yep.
You're going faster than my brain can actually shoot,
Yeah.
another
There's
frame
a
at a
chance of that
time.
too. Yep.
Yeah, so maybe somebody is better because I know there is like professionals that like inspect cards and like they can notice the tiniest detail and like but they have to keep it moving. It's like man, my brain can't even like it has to stop and I can only like see it. But some can see it like oh it's moving. I can still see every process. Like oh so your neurons are pretty good compared to mine then.
Mm.
And then the trained eye too. You train your eyes for so many years, you get used to that resolution or that position of resolution. Then you're so used to it. To me, it's just dizzy, something spinning, but to you, it's like a constant item just turning. So
Mm.
it's like, oh,
I
okay,
see.
I have to train that.
Yeah.
So that's a disability there.
And
Yeah.
that's like I think that also contributes to um like going to the gym, like when you're lifting weights or like when you're learning like
Mm.
when you work out or like MMA or like martial arts, for example, like you are very
Oh,
slow at dodging. Like for example, in martial arts, right? You when you're learning how to dodge or to block something, you are still getting used how to put your hands up and like you're getting the muscle memory down,
man.
and then you're also training the eye how to read a telegraph. Like, oh, is he gonna throw? Is he gonna throw that backward
Yeah.
roundhouse? Is he gonna throw that hook? Then you realize like, oh, you're both training the muscle memory and the eye to like work together to be like how you get to that conclusion, like okay I'm ready to react. And then like lifting weights, for example, like you're learning how to like again muscle memory, learning how to, let's say, curl. You're learning how to curl, right? And then like you realize one of the weights pops out, then like, oh boom, you're so fast, like you react to it, like because you know, you also have a feel for the weights to a degree, like you have an idea, and
That's
you
the
have
muscle
some
memory,
control.
I would
Yeah,
say.
that's muscle memory too.
No, I would even say with muscle memory, it's not just that. It's also cues in your eye. Like for me in the gym, like I have to like keep an eye on when to like say my muscle is giving out. So I have to
Yep.
like in fractions of moments. I'm like, hey, throw the weight down because it's about to like my muscles about to like give up, and I have a weight over me. Obviously, I don't want to hit my head, so I have to kind of my eye has to like tell me, hey, brain, throw that off the side right now before it hits you. So it's like milliseconds of timing. Um, but I feel like it can change again for everybody.
Mm.
Um, dynamically, the position, the environment you are, how much light are you getting? There's like from what I've known, like people can be in the there's some people that can be in a bright room and still not see clearly, not because of the lens they have, but because of the lack of even the eye's muscle. I forgot the name of it, but like it can't expand enough, so it won't open enough to let light into the retina to tell
Mm.
like, oh, this is what's going on. And I'm like, dude, you're in like the brightest room ever. Like like what's going on? Like in my mind, they're in a bright room, but for them it's just their eye.
Mm.
That's a crutch. Um and I know that can be in video games, like the it's constant light right now, but if that quick motion they can't get because it's just that one frame didn't like go fast enough in their actual brain, they're like, dude, it's hard to actually web around
Mm.
just because I can't track that motion as well as you do, you know. So so yeah, we're not clocked in. Everybody, I think, has their range.
Mm.
It's just all everybody's range is different. Just
Yeah.
like when I go to gym, everybody's weight is different. Everybody's lift is different. We're all in the. We can all do it, but in different ways.
Hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that concludes this episode, Luis. We've gone pretty lengthy, actually. Surprisingly, well, in a way, not surprisingly
How many
too, but
hours?
we're nearing the 2.5 hour. But I think it was actually well fit because smartphones. I think it was appropriate amount of time, and then with quantum computing, I actually was not expecting to go through my old notes from my presentation. I did
We're gonna
have
have to go
them
back to
ready to
that.
go.
Trust
I did
me.
have them ready to go, but I was not expecting to even mention them. But yeah.
I think it's insightful. Honestly, it gives another perspective of we were talking about AI, yes, but
Mhm.
now what is that's driving it?
Yeah.
So not AI is not just some magical new technology.
Yeah,
No, it
for
has so
sure.
much more.
And then with the human eye, this was the one I was looking most forward to because it's a really interesting topic, not just to discuss about, but even researching. At least from my side, there seems to be so many answers and conclusions people come to,
Mm-hmm.
like both
Mm-hmm.
qualified researchers and scientists, cognitive scientists, even to like just your like regular consumer people like us who just like are who probably are aware of it, but like we're not. We're just trying to figure it out
I,
too, and we're not.
yeah.
Let's say we're not too deep in the weeds as other people are, but like we're just interested in knowing what is this, how do we get to this, can this work, can this not work, and yeah, this human eye
I
perception
I
is
think that's a
so
good
cool.
question. I think that's a good not question. Well, actually, when you mentioned it, not as a question, but the human like brains, like even when you were mentioning like reaction time, like I think it is kind of interesting to think about. Like, oh, the human eye does. It's not just the human eye; it's the human eye in your brain. Like, how fast is your reaction time? I remember when you asked me that, it reminded me like when I was taking boxing classes. Like everybody's reaction time was different
Mhm.
for blocking, for jabbing. It's like what makes it different? I thought we would all like jab at the same time, or like when the instructor says jab, we all do. But it's like there's that delay, a
Mhm.
fraction of a delay. You could improve it, but it's like, huh? It does have to do with the eye. It does, and of course, with the or more a little bit more with the brain, but it has with the eye when now or that can be also with the ears too when the instructor says jab
Mm.
that too that delay. It made me think of that moment. I'm like, man, and now I still dabble with it a little bit.
Mm.
To be fair, with the human eye to think about its refresh rate, I guess. I don't think there is I don't think there's a definite, but it's crazy. Like,
Yeah, I don't.
hey, doctor, can you
It's
tell
not
me my
definite.
refresh rate?
Be like, can I upgrade my specs, please?
Yeah, I know. Like, I was thinking, like, hey, is there any way I can buff up my lens,
Yeah.
to improve my
Can
distance, my
I
color
can I
range?
get
It's like,
the can I upgrade from the 35 millimeter to the 38 millimeter Pro version, please? Oh, you're telling me I can improve my vision with AI for a 1 year subscription? Maybe I'll consider it.
no, no. Oh, a Starlink, they put one and like your monthly
Starlink.
subscription's up. It's up. So like, you know what? We gotta turn that off from you. Like they're like, no, no, guys. The problem is the brain. So the brain is the one that processes it, and it's not processing fast enough. So we're gonna give you a chip that processes faster than the brain, and so we get it, and then our subscription's over. It's like, sorry, you're back to like your standard
Oh my
brain
gosh.
function. It's like, dang it! Like I really was noticing the little pixels like completely like, but it is like an interesting topic. I
Mhm.
would say to anybody listening, think about it. Like take a moment and notice where does your eye affect not just seeing obviously,
Mhm.
but like do you notice it when you like see from afar? How much detail can you get from when you're close and when things move fast? How much of that like for me like when cars go fast, how much can I actually capture of the car before it goes? Because sometimes it's just like straight line. But
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever done it where you track it, you kind of track it yourself, and it's like you
Yeah.
see the actual object while it's going fast. Some people can see it like, oh, I don't have to move, I see it. I'm like, what? I always have to go like that, like keep looking to see if the thing is actually constant, and it's just so funny, like maybe some people will notice, oh, I didn't notice that. Some
Mm.
people have to, move their head to actually track the thing. I just see it and I know what it is.
Mm.
So for viewers out there, yeah,
I might
little
have to test that. I might
questions
have to
for you.
test that.
Yeah, test that. See, maybe Josiah, your brother, is better at like seeing fast things compared to you. It's like, oh, I don't have to move. I just know what it is. I can tell you the car and everything.
Mm.
My brother is so good. He doesn't have to look or like he doesn't have to track it. He'll
Mm.
know exactly what it is. The moment it passed by, I'm like, dude, it just zoomed in.
Mm.
Like, what is it? How do you know? But that's what I think. This topic is kind of not too new, but not too old either. I've had to understand about that for a while.
Mm. For
so
sure.
so yeah, yeah, so people test it out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Test it out for yourself. See what the results are and see, what fascinates you,
Let
what
us know.
interests you. Yeah, because this is interesting. It's an interesting case because it's not a one for one case. It's always going to vary. Basically your mileage may vary. It's not going to be the same for everybody. It might be similar, but it's not going
That's
to be
true.
the same. Yeah, with that, Luis,
Okay, fine.
my final words for everyone tonight is regarding smartphones, there is no one objective winner. It really boils down to subjectivity because
There's
even
nothing
if
out
I
there.
lay every objective reason for you to go to an iPhone or to an Android, it's still going to be on how you want to use your phone, what you prioritize in a phone, what you like in a phone. You might be more of a hardware person or a software person. Who knows? But uh,
Mm.
it's a lot closer than you think. Of course, there's still differences, but a lot of people sometimes make it out to be, oh, there's a clear gap. Like I think the gap is so small, yet it's still enough to sway people to go one side or the other. But it's not as big as a lot of people make it to seem to be. So that's what I would say about smartphones regarding quantum computing. Um, explore, research about it. It's fascinating technology, fascinating concepts, really. Again, the most probably the most easy and practical thing you can see it being applied to right now is if you have RCS on your iPhones or Androids, just the text messages across a user that has RCS with while you also have RCS is already um, ex- application and implementation of quantum key distribution and quantum cryptography, which is related to quantum um, computing. So there's that. It's very simple, not super hard to understand, but if you want to dive deep in a rabbit hole, I highly recommend quantum relativity, quantum theory, and specifically in quantum computing, it's error correction and it's qubit precision. And then regarding human eye, again, I pretty much said it already. Experiment, test it for yourself, look at things, see if you're able to notice differences in either resolution or detail or in motion. See it in different different lighting conditions, different dust conditions, even. So many different factors you can kind of experiment in. And also, in another condition is like if you're low on energy or if you're like full of energy, sometimes that, who knows, that might contribute to how you perceive information as well. So I'll leave it with that.
That's true.
Luis, you have any final words to say really quickly?
No, no, I think if anything we learned, test it all, and see what fits you, and like from phones to your eyes, see what fits you. Don't let anybody persuade you to what what they want, because not there's again, then not everybody is the same. We have to have something different. We might look the same, be the same, not the same, but we all have our little fingerprint, just like in quantum, or can't be replicated. So yeah, have your own little difference in this world.
For sure. With that, thank you guys for sticking with us for over 2 hours and a half. I mean, it's the common trend in this
Yes,
on this podcast. It's pretty long form. Thankfully, we like to talk about a lot of things, and even if it's small things, it's like there's so much to talk about still. With that,
So much, yeah.
to quickly tease our next episode, all I will say is, in a sentence, we will have to fantasize about considering the finality of 7 reasons, and we will see what that means sooner or later.
Yes.
But with that,
This one.
thank you for joining and sticking in, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.